What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto Hellhound summoning contract? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Ah! Screamed Makoto as she looked on the scene of what had just transpired. Her son, Itachi, had just killed his father along with the rest of his clan besides his mother and his younger brother, Sasuke. As Itachi ran forward to finish his mother off, a large amount of killing intent filled the room. Itachi froze in place about 4 feet away from stabbing his mother. Itachi started looking around frantically as he knelt on one knee looking for the source of the killing intent. Naruto slowly walked into the room from the window which has blood splattered all over it from Itachi's father. "What the hell, Itachi-kun? Why are you doing this?" asked a fuming Naruto, leaking killer intent in waves, adding a little of the Kyuubi's chakra to enhance the look and amount of killer intent. Itachi was scared for his life, but in all his time in Anbu as an Anbu captain, taught him how to keep a straight face even in the most dangerous situations. "I, Naruto-san, am erasing a cursed clan that should not exist anymore," said Itachi, keeping his emotionless visage on. Naruto changed from infuriated to confused. "What do you mean?" Naruto asked, while slowing his killing intent. Itachi started to stand, looking into Naruto's crimson Kyuubi-fied eyes. "Ever since the beginning, our clan has succumbed to the darkness of regret, anger, despair, and depression, and when this happens we always seem to turn into power-crazed people, not seeing the wrong in our ways," said Itachi. Naruto realized his words and asked, "But if that is true, why are you here? Why didn't you just try to change their ways and become an even greater shinobi?" Itachi kept his still emotionless face, no emotion showing while saying, "Because Naruto, things never change if they want cooperate. Now move so I can go on to Sasuke after my mother." Naruto just moved in front of Makoto and started leaking another giant amount of killing intent, only directed at Itachi. Said man fell to both of his knees, panting for breath. Itachi understood his answer and stared at him angrily. "I see. Well, I will leave my mother to live, along with Sasuke, because if I know you correctly you wouldn't let me kill him either." Naruto just answered in a monotone voice. "Nope, not a chance. Now, Sasuke, please come in," said Naruto, looking at the sliding door behind Itachi. Sasuke had been watching from the start of when Itachi went to lunge at his mother. After coming home from a longer than normal practice of the Shuriken and Kunai targeting, he came home to the site of the Uchiha compound, covered in dead Uchihas. He had ran home and witnessed the small boy known as Naruto save his mother. The whole time until now his thoughts were of, what the hell? How is Itachi scared of this boy? He looks my age. And now after hearing said boy call his name he wondered, how does he know I am here? Sasuke opened the door and ran towards his mother, giving her a hug. "I thought I would sob loose you to asterisk sob sob." Makoto had been captivated by the blonde protecting her. Until she registered the little child attached to her arm crying, she realized it was her other son, Sasuke. "Sasuke-kun," said Makoto, hugging her son back, newly shed tears running down her face. "Don't worry Sasuke-kun. I'll stay by your side. Stop crying please," said Makoto, hushing her son and rocking him back and forth, comforting him to the best of her ability. While the mother cradled her son, Naruto was looking at them with longing, sadness and a small hint of happiness. Naruto only wished had somebody that would befriend him or love him. "Well, I will be on my leave then, until next time, Naruto Uzumaki," said Itachi, before shining in a swill of leaves. "Naruto Uzumaki, huh? I need to find out about this guy. If he could scare Itachi then he must be amazingly strong. I wonder if we could be friends even though the circumstances are pretty weird," thought Sasuke as he stopped sobbing. Naruto was just about to leave, to go back to his rundown apartment, probably already strewn with new graffiti telling him to die, to leave us alone already, and the one that always made him sad, "You have no family or friends here. Go in a hole and just die." When Sasuke's mom, Makoto, spoke up after seeing him almost depart and seeing his sad face. "Why did you come here, and where are you going?" she asked. "Well, for your first question, Itachi was acting weird lately and I decided to come over and see what was wrong with him, to see him about to kill you, so I intervened," said Naruto, sadness and pain obviously showing in his voice. And for Yuru's second question, I was going to go back home to erase the new graffiti probably made on my apartment door, then eat some instant ramen, then go to bed, said Naruto, finishing his sentence. Makoto and Sasuke both looked into his now ocean blue eyes that showed many emotions, mostly consisting of bad emotions more than good, sorta giving himself a look that made him look more older and wiser than his age entailed. Well, thanks for saving me and my song, but can't you stay and help us repay you, with maybe some tea or some money? You look terrible and you seem like you were just beat up, said Makoto, now realizing Naruto had many bruises. Spelling always was one of my bad fortes. Cheeky smiley face and a black eye, along with a lot of gashes leaking blood from his arms, legs, face, and chest, if the giant blue-soaked shirt was any clue. Well, before I came here I was beat up by a mob of civilians, nothing out of the ordinary in my daily life, said Naruto, the pain and sadness showing in his eyes tenfold. That's terrible, cried Makoto. How could you be beaten this badly, daily no less? Naruto looked at her for a second before answering, it's fine, I know why, I've always healed back up anyway, even if I am beaten almost every day, and 10 times worse on my birthday, I know all too well on why they do this. Makoto wondered how civilians could do this to a little boy, until it hit her. This is the Kyuubi's host, no wonder he has so much sadness in his eyes. Nevertheless, why can't the villagers see past the Kyuubi and notice the lonely little boy I see before me? After thinking things over for a bit, she came up with an idea. Naruto. Would you like to stay here with me and Sasuke, and live with us? Asked Makoto. Sasuke was thinking that it'd be nice to have a friend during this hard time in his life, and a cool and badass one at that. And agreed with his mother, yeah, we could be friends and share my room, said Sasuke. Naruto just looked amazed. How could they offer him a place to live and even friendship from a boy his own age, something he's wanted for a long time, so easily? Really? Questioned Naruto, barely above a whisper in complete disbelief. Yeah, it'll be fun, said Sasuke, smiling, now looking at the boy he now would call friend. Naruto thought for a second, wondering if they were joking, then looked in their eyes and only saw sincerity and realized they weren't lying. I'd like that, said Naruto, a little twinkle in his eyes, and a lone tear ran down his right cheek. Makoto just looked at the two young men and smiled. Her son would have a friend that could see past the name of the Uchiha, which others did not, and always addressed them as the higher-ups of Konoha's society. After a crew of Anbu cleaned up the mess of the Uchiha massacre, and Makoto came back from telling the Hokage what happened, came back and said prayers with Naruto and Sasuke, then let them sleep in her room for the night after what all happened today. Sasuke slept in his mother's bed while Naruto slept on the floor. Good night, Naruto, said Sasuke, happy he had a cool friend that saved his life along with his mother's. He would always be indebted to his friend, and would always like him no matter what. Naruto started to cry silently in the dark. He had someone to come back to, and he had a friend. Good night, Sasuke, Makoto-san, said Naruto, happy there were others that would accept him. And fell asleep happy as can be for the first time in a long time. Good night, Sasuke, Naruto-kun, said Makoto in a light whisper, before turning off the lamp next to her bed and went to sleep. Sasuke walked into the kitchen to see his mother cooking bacon and toast. Good morning, Ka-san, said Sasuke. Sasuke looked around and wondered where Naruto was. Hey Ka-san, where's Naruto-kun? Makoto looked at him with a small smile. He's still asleep. When I woke you up I let him sleep in, said Makoto. Oh, he said, before running upstairs to wake up Naruto. He opened the door and said, Naruto-kun, you up? Said Blonde, woke up and looked at Sasuke. Yes, I am, thanks. They ate their breakfast and headed outside. Sasuke and Naruto hit it off well, they had a lot in common, and today he thought Sasuke needed to know the truth. Naruto had been consulting with the Kyuubi on if he should tell Sasuke about her. She had said he could trust him, and that was all Naruto needed to know. Sasuke, we will be entering the Ninja Academy in a week. I need to tell you something before we enter, said Naruto. Sasuke wondered what his friend wanted to tell him, so he asked, what is it, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked at Sasuke and answered, well, first I would like to tell you why the civilians hate me. Your mother already knows, and since you're my closest and only friend my age, and I am hoping you will trust me and keep it a secret, it is a S-class secret after all. Sasuke was confused. He always wondered why the villagers hated his newfound friend, and to hear it's an S-class secret was another thing to be confused about. Sasuke, I am the container of the Kyuubi. The villagers hate me for what I hold inside me, and I hope you don't hate me either. Sasuke's eyes opened wide at this new information. Of course, it makes a little more sense now, but why is he looking at me like I am gonna hit him? He looks like he thinks I am gonna leave high. Oh shit, he does think I am gonna leave him. Quick, Sasuke think of a response. I'm his first friend his age ever. I can't let him be hurt like that. Naruto-kun. Why are you looking at me like that? We are friends and always will be. Please don't look like I am gonna leave you, said Sasuke. After this statement, Naruto creamed tears of joy. More like one lone tear, since Naruto never cries unless it's like the most saddest thing ever or happiest thing ever. Cheeky smiley face. He had a friend that liked him for who he was and not for what he held inside him. Kyuubi-chan, I have a real friend. He still lies me even after I told him I contain you inside me, thought Naruto through his mental link with the Kyuubi. While most didn't know, Naruto could talk to Kyuubi. He could ever since 4 years ago when he was 5 years old and was beat up the worst on his birthday that night. He blacked out and woke up in his mindscape, and him and her just chatted. They became fast friends and still are. That's great, Naruto-kun, said Kyuubi back to Naruto. Now, tell him I appreciate him being there for you right now, since we all know I can't help on the outside world, said a downcast Kyuubi. Ah, Kyuubi-chan, I appreciate your concern, and I will always be proud and glad I hold you in me. You are my first true friend, but Sasuke's my first true friend my age, so you're both precious to me. And Makoto-san is also precious to me because she is the only adult that openly shows her kindness besides the third. Thought Naruto back to Kyuubi. Kyuubi smiled in his mindscape and then frowned when she thought of what she had to do soon and didn't want to tell Naruto. She knew he would blow a gasket, so she kept it to herself. Naruto looked at Sasuke and said, "Thanks, Sasuke. You don't know how much that means to me. Also, Kyuubi-chan says she appreciates you being my friend and staying by my side. Arigato." Sasuke, after hearing this, thought, Kyuubi is a girl? You welcome, Naruto-kun, said Sasuke with a smile on his face. Okay, and now the other thing, said Naruto. When we get to the academy, I will not show my true skill. I will only show enough to pass with flying colors. Don't need people thinking I am stupid, haha. But, I wanted to know if you want to train with me and pass through the academy fast so me and you can get on a Genin team? Sasuke was confused why Naruto wouldn't show his true skill, but realized that if he did then the civilians could twist it and say that the Kyuubi is probably taking over him and making him strong enough to take revenge. Alright, I understand, and yes, I would appreciate it if you trained me, said an upbeat Sasuke. He was happy his some badass new friend that was strong would be training him. Okay. Well, I will be training you through this week until the day we go to the academy, said Naruto. We will start right now. Here. He tossed some chakra weights at him. These are chakra weights, start at 50 pounds each limb. You will progress farther later in life, but right now just add the 50 pounds. Okay, now we do 65 laps around the Uchiha compound. Then train in taijutsu until we go to the academy. After that day I will teach you some ninjutsu and kenjutsu if you would like, said Naruto. Sasuke was wide-eyed once again. He was so happy and overwhelmed that he jumped at Naruto and hugged his best friend. Thank you, Naruto-sensei. Also, yes, I would like to learn kenjutsu along with the new ninjutsu you will train me in. Naruto didn't expect the sensei bit but decided to tell Sasuke, I don't mind you calling me that, but only when it's me and you. I don't want people at the academy wondering why you said that, said Naruto. Sasuke just nodded, and they started their week-long training session. Time skip -1 week. Day of academy entrance. Naruto and Sasuke were goth walking toward the academy, not taking the roof so they could spend time together as friends. Sasuke over the course of 1 week had grown tenfold from the day they started. Sasuke now had on 100 pounds on each limb that would stay taut way until the end of every month, where he would walk around all day without the weights to get used to the feel. Then add 20 pounds to the previous weight the next day until the month was up again. Due to this method, Sasuke was a lot faster and more strong than any normal genin. Then again, he was taught by a boy his age that could probably easily take 2 Junin without being exhausted. But Sasuke knew Naruto had a lot more power than what he let on, so he didn't know if it could be 2 or 20, never knew with the wildcard that Naruto is. Along with his training, Naruto taught Sasuke 2 jutsus since Sasuke had pleaded on his knees. Naruto gave in and taught him 1 B-class jutsu. And 1 A-class jutsu that only a handful of people could do. The B-class jutsu was Kaden, Giant Fire Dragon no Jutsu. I will not write the Japanese endless someone tells me that exact word, jutsu in Japanese in the reviews. I am really lazy and don't feel like opening another tab to look it up. Sasuke caught on quick and mastered the Kaden jutsu on his 4th day of training. Naruto then taught Sasuke the Rasengan, but unlike Naruto, Sasuke couldn't master it in 1 week and was still on the 2nd phase out of 3 until it was complete. Sasuke also learned to master stealth and heighten his senses. Naruto taught him the 2nd part so he could tell if a girl was lusting after him since fangirls were always a problem with Sasuke, and if he didn't like them and knew what they wanted he would hightail it out of there. Sasuke's stealth and senses did indeed heighten. Sasuke could perfectly mask his chakra so no one could sense it. Besides Naruto but no surprise there, his senses caudal smell hormones and hear from far away. Nowhere near Naruto's sleeth and heightened senses, but he was better than an Inuzuka in Naruto's eyes, so that just goes to show how freaking good a teacher Naruto is. Sasuke's stealth was heightened by doing pranks with Naruto and running from Anbu and sneaking into the Anbu HQ to pull those pranks off. Sasuke's taijutsu also increased, to the point of mid-level chunin in fact. Naruto's taijutsu was unknown to Sasuke but he knew that with Naruto you caudal always expect the very best. So Sasuke, you ready to go to the academy? Oh, and don't forget, hide most your abilities, because they wouldn't wonder how a genin could do Junin level stuff day 1st day of the academy. Just power down most your skills to about 1/10 when showing off. Said Naruto. I will Naruto-sensei. Said Sasuke happy as can be that his friend had taught him to be even stronger and in only 1 week no less that really showed how hard and powerful the training was. Naruto bonked Sasuke over the head once people looked at Sasuke like he grew a 2nd head when he said, Naruto-sensei, and quickly told him, Sasuke, I thought I told you to only call me that when we are training? Sasuke just remembered his friend's words 1 week prior and rubbed the back of his head nervously. I'm sorry. Naruto responded with, I will let it slide this time, but we can still act as friends in the academy so at least I don't have to feel lonely all over again. Finished Naruto with a deep look in his eyes that pretty much screamed, sadness. Sasuke knew his friend was lonely most his life and he vowed to always be there for Naruto. This time was no different. Cheer up man, we're almost there. Then we can sit next to each other like friends are supposed to do, right Naruto? Said Sasuke putting a reassuring hand on his friend's right shoulder. Naruto turned to Sasuke with happiness mixed with sorrow in his eyes and said, thanks Sasuke, that means a lot to me. Sasuke smiled and said, no prob, now let's get a move on, don't want to be late. Naruto smiled and turned away from Sasuke. Okay, let's race, if you get there in the next minute, I'll teach you the Shunshin. Said Naruto already preparing to Shunshin to the academy. You're on, exclaimed Sasuke, wanting to know how to Shunshin very badly. Sasuke showed up at the academy in a full-on sprint. He knew not to take off his weights because he knew Naruto wouldn't find that very fair since it would be too easy that way. He arrived next to Naruto at the front doors at his now record time 1 minute 36 seconds. Alright Sasuke, you didn't get here under 1 minute but I will teach you the Shunshin this weekend when we have free time, okay? Smiled Naruto. Yes, cried Sasuke happier than earlier. Naruto walked in the academy first, finding their door and walked in not paying attention to the fangirls sporting hearts for eyes at Sasuke. Naruto chose a corner in the back of the room with no one around and sat down in the 2nd seat to the end. Sasuke chose the seat right at the end so Naruto was on his right and on his left was a wall. All the girls wondered why, Sasuke-kun was sitting next to Naruto, the one person their parents told them to stay away from or exclude him at any chance they got, along with make fun of him. One of the girls was daring enough to walk up to both of them and ask Sasuke, hey Sasuke-kun, why are you hanging with him? Our parents said he was a bad guy and to exclude and make fun of him, so why don't you come sit with us where you belong, with your friends? The girl finished, sporting a smile and when referring to Naruto a frown. This statement however made Sasuke angry. How could this girl be so mean to his best and only real friend, Naruto, without even knowing him first? What did you say? Said Sasuke, making sure he heard her right. While Naruto just stared at him, wondering where he was going with this. The girl smiled and said, I said why sit next to that sorry excuse for a person, and sit next to your real friends. She finished her sentence with a smile and a hand gesture motioning to the girls looking with sparkles in their eyes at Sasuke. Sasuke for one was fuming. How could they say idiots berate the man he now looks up to? What? Yelled Sasuke, the fangirls shrinking under his angry gaze. Naruto is my best friend. He is the reason I am here and not dead. Yelled Sasuke even louder, making Naruto open his eyes wide and jump up to cover Sasuke's mouth. No, Sasuke. We promised we wouldn't tell anyone besides the ones that were there that day. Said Naruto with his hand covering Sasuke's mouth. Sasuke for his part was so angry he didn't care and bit hard on Naruto's hand, which he knew would heal right away. Naruto recoiled and rubbed his hands soothingly, cursing under his breath. No, they will know. I will not stand by while the man taught saved my mother from her death and me from mine, while in the process making my clan's assailant flee for his life, is being made fun of and mistreated. Sasuke was fuming and on the verge of beating down all that opposed him. As for Naruto, he had a look of annoyance on his face. You baka, said Naruto, smacking Sasuke across the back of his head, making Sasuke yelp and rub the back of his head in an attempt to ease the pain. That was classified information and now I can't hide my abilities or they'll think less of me. You baka. Do I have to fix every mess you make? Said Naruto. You're lucky I can erase memories, otherwise I would kick your ass for this, retorted Naruto, leaking a sample amount of killer intent to make the girls and guys that heard Sasuke pant and kneel on the ground or in their seat. Mind eraser no jutsu, whispered Naruto, now erasing what was said with his jutsu. In the next instant everyone forgot, except for the clan heirs, excluding Hinata who fainted from looking at Naruto, and Sasuke who couldn't forget the memory because he was the one that said the words that needed erasing. While Naruto's jutsu gets rid of the memi, he has to implant a new one. The one he chose to implant for the girls made him snicker. He had implanted the idea and image of Naruto naked with every other civilian girl blushing madly in the memory from looking at what was between his legs. Naruto implanted the image and feeling of getting kicked in the balls for the guys, more pain to the ones that made fun of him and treated him badly. After Naruto was done, the girls only remembered what he implanted in their memory, while the guys got an image and feeling of getting kicked in the balls, so they fell over, or just stayed there, somewhere already on the floor when the killer intent filled the room. Also, killer intent will be key from now on. Holding their crotches for dear life. Needless to say, Naruto was straight out crying from laughter. Every girl had a nosebleed and a face as red as Hinata's when she looks at Naruto, while the guys just groaned loudly. What did you do? Asked a now not as angry Sasuke. I made the girls and the guys forget what you said, implanting me naked as the image for the girls' minds, and for the guys the image and feeling of getting kicked in the nuts. As for the heirs to the clans, well, they could easily swat away my jutsu, cause I put only a little chakra in the jutsu to only erase what was said. If I would have gone all out, they would have forgotten everything, even their names, family, gender, said Naruto. While Naruto was explaining what he did to Sasuke, the clan heirs were looking at Naruto warily. They did not know who saved Sasuke and his mom, and to hear a Genin instilled fear into a person that could kill so many skilled Sharingan using shinobi. Needless to say, the heirs would watch Naruto carefully, some would befriend him in time. Once Naruto was done explaining what he did to Sasuke, Iruka walked in. Okay, class, settle down, said Iruka. All the kids stopped talking, and the day began. Iruka talked Abitu history first, consisting of the Hokages. The next subject was chakra. Some kids listened very intently at this. After talking about chakra, he talked about what they would all be doing tomorrow. Okay, you are dismissed. But tomorrow we will test if you have chakra capabilities and good accuracy with shuriken and kunai, said Iruka, dismissing the group. Naruto and Sasuke calmly walked away from the class first. Naruto was ahead of Sasuke while Sasuke walked behind Naruto. Sasuke was getting tired of all these fangirls and was going to yell at the large group of them following them until Naruto said, Sasuke, ignore the girls. If I can ignore the evil stares from the village, then you should easily be able to ignore lustful little girls. Sasuke looked around and noticed that indeed Naruto was right, the villagers probably were a lot worse than stupid fangirls. So he ignored them and walked up to Naruto and asked, "So Naruto, how do we lose them then?" whispered Sasuke. "Simple, ill shyness to the compound, just grab my shoulder." As Naruto asked, Sasuke grabbed his shoulder and in a big whirlwind were nowhere to be seen. "Where did Sasuke-kun go? We need to get Sasuke-kun away from that stupid Naruto, he belongs with us," said a random fangirl in the crowd. "Yeah, but he always seems to follow Naruto. He's either sitting next to him or following him around. And just now Naruto somehow got him away from us. Once Sasuke grabbed his shoulder, they were gone in that whirlwind," said Sakura, one of the many fangirls and president of his club. It seems he used a Shunshin forehead," said Ino, who was one of the clan heirs that kept the memory of what Sasuke said. It would seem Sasuke wasn't lying, but why does everyone hate Naruto? Surely pranks can't get him that much scorn and hate, thought Ino as she followed the other fangirls to their Sasuke Girls Club. Naruto and Sasuke showed up at their compound and were greeted by Makoto. "Hello Sasuke-kun." "Naruto-kun, how is school?" asked Makoto. So, in the next 10 minutes Naruto retold their day at the academy, starting with Sasuke's outburst, Iruka's boring lectures, and the many fangirls they just escaped from. "Sasuke-kun, you need to control your emotions. I know Naruto is your friend, but if people knew that we're not a part of what all happened that night, then civilians would find out and think stuff that could twist the truth to think Naruto is being controlled by the Kyuubi and is too strong," said Makoto, starting to care more about Naruto after spending years with him around and growing a bond which led to her small crush on her shining blonde hero. "It's okay Makoto-san. Sasuke was only sticking up for me, which I appreciate very much, but people can't know just yet. They all still hate me, and if this gets out they will come to the conclusion that Makoto-san just said," said Naruto. Makoto just had a sad look in her eyes. How can Naruto-kun take life like this? I wish there was something I could do to be of help to him, thought Makoto while she walked with her son and Naruto back into the compound. The rest of the day Naruto was training Sasuke, and was now telling him what his training schedule would consist of until the end of the academy. "Okay Sasuke, here is your schedule. I will give you a quick rundown of the times and training activities," said Naruto. "Okay, first off, from 6 AM to 7 AM we will be running 30 laps around the compound. Also before we start you will up your weights to 90 pounds each. Each week we will up the amount by 5 pounds, he explained. At 7 AM to 8:30 AM we will enhance your chakra control and heighten your chakra reserves, stated Naruto, while continuing his new schedule to Sasuke. From 8:30 AM to 1 PM we will be at the academy, where we will suppress our chakra to that of a genin, which will also help with heighten our chakra reserves and more chakra control while we do all the normal genin stuff. After the academy we will come home and do our homework. Note to self. Teach Sasuke the damn Kage Bunshin no Jutsu so his clone can do the homework so I can use that time to train him more, after which we will work on your Rasengan training until 3 o'clock PM. From 3 PM to 3:30 PM we will take a break to recharge our chakra back to normal. After the break, we move on to teaching you another Kaden Jutsu that only I and another know of. It is very powerful and can get you out of a bind if you are surrounded. The jutsu is called Blaze Heart no Jutsu. This jutsu will take the chakra you have built up for the attack and then it will discharge from all around your body using the oxygen in the air around you to blast the explosion away from you in a 360-degree manner, taking out a large amount of enemies, said Naruto, making Sasuke have a little gleam in his eyes after hearing the freaking awesome Kaden Jutsu, as Sasuke put it. This will last until 5 PM and from then until 7 PM I will unlock your Sharingan, by putting you into a life or death situation where you will have to unlock it to even see me coming. This will go on until you unlock it and then this time will be preoccupied by watching me do some jutsu with your Sharingan, but only the ones you are having a lot of trouble with. We don't want you to just copy my jutsus and not get a feel for them on your own. At the mention of awakening his Sharingan, Sasuke was jumping with joy. Settle down, geez. Okay, now finally from 7 PM to 8 PM we will practice better stealth and camouflage genjutsu and hiding your presence to help with hiding from your enemies and those pesky fangirls, said Naruto, getting a large agreement from Sasuke, shaking his head with enthusiasm. Naruto then went inside to eat dinner with Sasuke and his mom. They had some sesame chicken, white rice, ramen noodles, due to Naruto's craving for it, and some tea. At the moment they were all sitting at their small table talking about Sasuke's training. So Naruto, let me get this straight. You are gonna have him train in chakra control, and by the end of the academy he will have high Junin chakra reserves and control. He will be faster than the naked eye but not faster than the Sharingan can track. He will be a master in stealth and genjutsu camouflage. And he will know many Kaiden jutsus, along with the fourth Rasengan technique? Asked Makoto. After receiving a nod from Naruto and a start-eyed Sasuke, she replied, "Wow, Naruto-kun. I never knew you were such a good teacher. If you taught all the students in your class you would be able to make them Junin in a fraction of the time it would normally take them to get there. Some probably will only make it to Chunin," said Makoto, a little astonished at Naruto's capabilities to teach people, and at such a young age no less. "If Naruto-sensei can do that then he must be majorly strong," said Sasuke while thinking he'd never seen his best friend fight at his best, all out. He hoped someday he would get just even a glimpse at his best friend's power. "Sasuke, what have I told you about calling me that when we are not training?" said Naruto. "Sorry Naruto, got caught up in the moment of knowing you are the one teaching me this," said Sasuke, a little sheepish after forgetting. "It's okay Sasuke, I'll let it slide, and once we are done with the academy completely and anyone asks how you are strong or who taught you, then you can tell them the truth," stated Naruto. "Alright Sasuke, let's get to your room and get to bed. Arigato Makoto-san, for the meal," said Naruto while he and Sasuke got to bed. "That boy is so interesting, I wish I could get to know him more. He seems to brighten everyone's day that can see past the Kyuubi when he is around, even mine," thought Makoto while taking the boy's lead and going to bed herself. The next day Naruto started his training with Sasuke, and after the academy and their chakra control workout, he taught Sasuke the Kaiden jutsu he told him about, and the rest of the day went on as planned in their schedule. Sasuke has been doing his training for 4 whole years now. He now wears 750-pound weights on each limb, has over high Junin chakra and control, has been able to do the Rasengan, Kaiden Heart Blaze no Jutsu, and is proficient in stealth and genjutsu camouflage, along with a few tricks up his sleeve. We find our heroes at the entrance of the academy. Naruto arrived in a giant whirlwind shunshin, while Sasuke came in a giant red fire shunshin. Sasuke and Naruto are top of the class, even with them holding back more than 90% of Sasuke's power, and Naruto is holding back an unknown amount. But Sasuke wished to see Naruto's full potential someday. Naruto and Sasuke took the test to be Genin at the academy and both got 100% on their scores. Even with Mizuki trying to stop Naruto's bunshin during the test and be bailed to fail him and have him get the forbidden scroll, Naruto counteracted him and sent him into a never-ending coma that Naruto could get him out of with a simple jutsu, but no one needs to know that. Haha, it was what he gets for trying to hinder Naruto and not pass him. And with their new headbands, they walk into the academy. "Can you believe it Naruto? We are Genin now, I hope we are on the same team, that would be so fun," said an upbeat Sasuke. "Oh don't worry about that, I pulled some strings with Oji-san and got us on the same team. But in exchange for it we have to deal with your worst enemy, Sakura Haruno, your #1 fangirl," stated Naruto, cringing at the thought of hearing Sakura always screeching like a banshee. Sasuke for one was fine as long as Naruto was there to oversee his training and fight alongside him. "Oh well, I can tolerate it if we can train her to be of some use," said Sasuke. I will have to train her after today. Our sensei quit on us to go back to Anbu and now I am the leader of our group. Oji-san said that I was capable and we didn't have to do D-rank missions if I took the position, although for Sakura's sake I think we should take a couple before we head on to C rank. So I accepted, but he is to tell the whole class and in the words of our favorite Nara backquote, how troublesome, said Naruto. Sasuke was now in shock. His best friend and longtime sensei would be his real sensei and leader of his team. To say he was happy would be like saying Naruto only likes ramen, when in all actuality Sasuke was ecstatic. "Wow," was all he could say before he opened the door and he and Naruto walked up to their favorite corner in their academy room. Upon entrance the girls stared dagger and pitchforks at Naruto for being with their Sasuke-kun, until Sasuke stared them down and sat back and waited for Iruka to get in. After another 10 minutes Iruka showed up. Alright class, we will be finding out who your Jonin Sneses are. There is only one team exception for this, but I will tell that team later, said Iruka while taking a quick glance at Naruto, who only smiled. Alright, team 1 is, stated Iruka, starting the long list of teams and names. It's all the same teams from the regular series, just Kakashi is in Anbu still and Naruto takes over. There is a reason I made Naruto team leader and Kakashi still in Anbu. Hehe, just keep reading and you will find out someday. And the final people who were not called, please come to the front of the room. The Hokage will come in and explain, so there are no misunderstandings, said Iruka while Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura walked to the front of the room. The class of new Genin hopefuls looked at the three at the front of the room as the Hokage walked in. Hello class, said the Sandame Hokage. Hello Hokage-sama, said the whole class in union. Alright class, first I would like to congratulate you all on becoming Genin. 2 of you in this class have been training vigorously for the past 4 years, and it's no wonder they passed. Would these 2 individuals step forward and present yourselves? Asked the Sandame, Sarutobi. After the Hokage gave his speech, many of the Genin waited to see who the Hokage was talking about and what made it special for the Hokage to actually be here to explain it. Naruto walked slowly next to the Hokage. Sasuke not far behind took up Naruto's empty side. These boys have been secretly training more than you all, and the one who trained the other is this team's new sensei, said Sarutobi. Sasuke had a smirk on his face. This will be fun, thought Sasuke. Alright class, as of today this will be the first squad of Genins without a Junin sensei. This team's sensei will be. Sarutobi paused and looked around. The many Genin were hanging off every word. Naruto Uzumaki, he said. Sasuke looked angry but didn't say anything. He would let the Hokage deal with it. Oh really Sakura, would you like to know who taught Yuru Sasuke-kun? Because that man would be Naruto. He has been teaching Sasuke for 4 years. Naruto has never shown his true power, even to me, but he taught Sasuke, and Sasuke is easily mid-Junin to high Junin level. And Naruto is way stronger than that. That is all I know. That's why Naruto will be your sensei, since he can handle himself and be able to protect the team like a real leaf ninja, said Sarutobi. Naruto washapi as can be with a shit-eating grin and a smirk combined, looking at the other Genin in the room, and loving the reaction of stunned silence form everyone sitting down. Wow Naruto-kun, you get your best friend, and a screeching bitch. Ha ha ha. Life just loves to mess with you, even if you had to agree to it. Naruto for a moment wondered who that was, until it clicked. What the fuck Kyuubi-chan? Why haven't you talked to me in forever? I missed you so much and felt like you were avoiding me, thought Naruto, keeping a straight face on the outside, but on the inside was a little sad. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I had to attend a meeting of all Biju. And since I couldn't attend personally, I sent my mind into the body of a mortal and had a long trip to find the meeting place. It has to deal with the Akatsuki trying to capture us. We need to mobilize and find the Biju containers. It is up to me and you to seek them out, find them, and then have an all-out war on the Akatsuki, said Kyuubi, switching to her angelic voice in mid-sentence while laying down on a bed in Naruto's mindscape, completely exhausted. Well okay. I will have to ask the old man for one of those. Can travel in and out of Konoha freely. Passes, and get to it, thoughteth Naruto. Yeah, we will do that later. Right now I am tired and missed you greatly. Being with you always makes me happy and warm. Not like that mortal's mind all cold and cluttered, said Kyuubi before she dozed off and fell asleep. Alright, sleep tight, Kyuubi-hime, thought Naruto, sending a mental image of him smiling warmly to her. Back in the real world, Sakura was still belittling Naruto. But Hokage-sama, Naruto Baka is weak, even though she didn't pass the exam with Sasuke with 100%? Lol, Sasuke is more strong and way cooler than that weak poor turd, said Sakura, happy with making Naruto look bad and making Sasuke look good. Naruto Baka has no family and no friends. Sasuke would never lower himself to Naruto's level, said Sakura. Cha, said Sakura's inner bitch. This statement didn't go unnoticed by Sasuke or the Hokage. They both turned to Naruto then back to Sakura. Oh shit, said Sasuke. While the Hokage's rebuttal was, Sakura, why did you have to say that? A clear expression of worry on his face. Sakura didn't know what they meant, but if the Hokage was worried then you better be too. Sakura, said Naruto, with anger and hate in his voice. No one had heard Naruto speak like this and were all a little unsettled hearing anything but his normal happy-go-lucky and calculating voice. Sakura was scared, now knowing why the Hokage was worried. Naruto was always serious or being playful, and you could tell the difference all the time, and she knew he was seriously mad at her. Naruto's sunny blonde hair was shielding his facial features, and as he looked right into Sakura's eyes, she could now see blood-red eyes, with slits in them for pupils. She was now almost about to piss her pants. Sakura's inner bitch AHD. One last thing to say though, oh fuck, we're screwed. Naruto bared his now 1-inch fangs, canines and finished his sentence. Shut up. Naruto then, to add to scaring the shit out of Sakura, released his suppression of his chakra to around 20% release and sent a shitload of chakra and killing intent ki all over the room. Every Genin was sweating bullets and couldn't breathe or talk, along with the others sweating bullets, scared for their life. Sasuke was sprawled out on the floor panting, still able to breathe but barely. And Sarutobi was on one knee, breaths just starting to become labored. Huff huff Naruto, please. Stop huff said Sarutobi, saying the question everyone wanted to say. Naruto ceased his ki, suppressed his chakra again, and let Kyuubi's power fade away, returning back to his blue-eyed, sunny blonde self. Sorry Oji-san, that bitch was annoying the fuck otu of me, stated Naruto, still a hint of anger in his voice. Everyone watching was thinking almost the same thing. Many of the thoughts were along the lines of, what the fuck happened to Naruto? And he even made the Hokage sweat beads and kneel, and the Hokage is supposed to be the strongest of the village, and the most thought one was, how the fuck did he get so strong? Sasuke was actually happy, even thought at the moment the aura in the air pretty much screamed, I am angry, don't fuck with me or you will die. The reason he was happy though is he finally got a small glimpse at Naruto's power, and he knew Naruto had more. Just the thought of all that power and more made Sasuke wonder, who would be able to make Naruto go all out. After Sarutobi's lapse of labored breathing he thought, I'm getting too fucking old for this shit. After his thought he said, alright class, now that that is over, I would like you to wait here for Yuru-sensei. Naruto, please take your team and get to know each other better, said Sarutobi, giving a smile toward Naruto, who then ruined the smile with his foxy smile. Okay Oji-san, I already know Sasuke well and his fighting abilities, but I will have to get to know Sakura, and try to get her at least a little close to Sasuke's level, alright? Team, move out, said Naruto, shining in his big whirlwind Shunshin. Sasuke followed suit and left via his fire-type Shunshin. Sakura walked out of the room mumbling something that sounded along the lines like, show-offs. Sakura could only think of one place she knew Naruto goes, and prayed he was there. Sakura thought, if that Naruto baka isn't there I will castrate him. Or bonk him over the head. Don't want a repeat of what just happened. Sakura's inner bitch put in her 2 cents worth as well, cha. If he isn't there, then we also shove a pole up his baka ass. Sakura shuddered a little. Sometimes her inner bitch was too sadistic, even if it was her locked up emotions. Naruto had shunshined to eat Chiraku's ramen and was sitting next to Sasuke. He was on his 9th bowl when Sakura lifted up the flap and sighed a breath of relief. Good he's here, thought Sakura, who sat down next to Sasuke on his left. She looked toward Naruto and was gonna ask something when she saw him grab his 10th bowl of ramen and sweat dropped. Jesus Christ. That baka can eat. He has a bottomless pit for a stomach, thought Sakura. Sasuke was a little peeved. He didn't like Sakura, and his hate for her grew when she said her comment on Naruto at the academy, but then again, Naruto showed his power to him for only an instant and underpowered, but that was fine, and it was due to Sakura. So he guessed he could forgive her, but just this once. Sigh, that was some good ramen, said Naruto. Alright Sakura, since you're the new member of me and Sasuke's group, we will have to go over formalities. So tell us your likes, dislikes, and goals, though we will share ours, he said. Sakura complied and started to say, alright. Well, I like shopping, being the Sasuke Fangirl Club's president, and I like Sasuke-kun, said Sakura, with stars in her eyes while taking quick glances at Sasuke, much to said Mont's ire. I dislike Ino Pig, Naruto Baka, and getting rejected by Sasuke-kun when I ask him out. pouted Sakura, not liking that last one since he always rejected her no matter what. Sasuke was now a little more angry since it was true. This girl never gave up on asking him out. And my goal in life is to marry a special someone and help him revive his clan, finished Sakura while blushing madly, making Sasuke want to gag and yell at her in the face saying that would never happen, but he was not gonna break, not now. So, our new addition is a fan-crazed worthless sack of knowledge? Said Naruto, a hint of annoyance to his voice. Sakura just pouted, crossed her arms and puffed her cheeks, looking very childish, HMPH. She mumbled, "Alright Sasuke, you're next, I already know, but Sakura needs to also know, since she will be our teammate until we're chunin," said Naruto. "Ow, fine, well my likes are my mom, Naruto, and playing pranks with Naruto to improve our stealth and camouflage skills," said Sasuke, having a small smirk cross his face from remembering the time he and Naruto outran and hid from over 40 ANBUs for taking all their weapons and clothes, which they returned, but not before turning the clothes pink and the weapon hilts purple, which caused them to have to wear that same attire for over 3 weeks, which got a huge laugh out of the village. They returned them by Naruto making a clone and having it turned into a giant bird to drop off all the stuff at the Anbu HQ. Sakura had whipped out a notepad and pen and was writing everything Sasuke said down so she could tell the Sasuke Fangirls Club later. "My dislikes include fangirls always chasing me and never leaving me alone, girls who don't train hard and only worry about their looks, and also I dislike the villagers that scowl and hate on Naruto, while they seem to put me on a pedestal and give me things they think I would want, including daughters, money, food. Even some men have given their wives to me so they can look good in my eyes, which they don't," said Sasuke, a little angry at the end. "And finally my goal is to revive my clan with a woman I truly love, and help Naruto out in life," he said, smiling at Naruto, who returned the smile because his friend was just that, a true friend. Sakura looked a little miffed, but pushed that aside and put her notepad away for later on. Naruto was up next. "Okay, I guess it's my turn," said Naruto. "Well my likes include pranks with Sasuke, ramen, and enhancing my abilities," he said. Sasuke smiled, but Sakura was mad that Naruto got to be with Sasuke more than most people, including her. "My dislikes are the 3 minutes it takes to prepare instant ramen my ass," whispered Naruto at the end. Continuing his speech, "More of my dislikes are people who judge others before they get to know them, and Sakura," said Naruto, making Sakura cringe at remember what he did earlier. And also she had to remember to get a change of panties. Her front was wet, and not the good kind most men like. "And my goal includes releasing a dear friend that I love from her prison of a life, once and for all, Alan with help the others like me, and lastly protect my precious people," he finished saying. "Oh Naruto-kun, were you talking about me?" asked Kyuubi. Scratching his cheek in embarrassment replied to her, "Haha, I see you woke up from your short live nap. And yes, I was talking about you," said Naruto, mentally smiling inside. "Oh Naruto-kun, you're so sweet. I knew we were friends but I didn't know you liked me more than that. Haha, perverted giggle asterisk," smiled Kyuubi, showing Naruto a mental image of a foxy grin. "Haha, well I guess that sorta slipped out, and we can talk more on this subject tonight when I join you in my mindscape when I go to bed," he said to her. "Oh okay na tilde ru tilde to tilde kun," purred Kyuubi, making Naruto blush a tiny bit from hearing her seductive voice in his head. Back to reality, Sasuke was waiting for Naruto to say what they would do as a new team, and Sakura was just staring dreamily at Sasuke. "Oops, sorry guys, spaced out there. Okay, so as a new team I would have to assess your abilities, but since I know Sasuke's, and I have seen all yours Sakura, tomorrow I will have a schedule for you to do every morning before we do our D-rank missions. Meet me at 6 AM, said Naruto. Sakura didn't want to train, but she did want to be of use to Sasuke and the team so she wasn't looked down upon. So Sakura complied, said her goodbyes, and left, but not before taking one last glance at Sasuke. HMPH, that girl seriously is the ban in my existence, said Sasuke, a big scowl on his face. Don't worry Sasuke, I will try to at least get her up to Chunin level, have her graduate, be promoted to Chunin, then her life will go on from there. I will not make her as strong as you. If I did, then she would use that power to look down on others and use her power to sway people to her bidding, Like the crazy-ass fangirl she is, said Naruto. Now, Sasuke, let's go home. You need a new training schedule, jutsus to practice, and added weight on your weights, he said, smiling a huge sly foxy grin. Sasuke smiled, but on the inside he was scared. Ah crap, how much harder could training get, thought Sasuke. Naruto and Sasuke shunshin ed to the Uchiha compound after paying for their meals and saying their goodbyes. Sasuke walked into their house and said, "Hello Ka-san. Guess what?" he said excitedly, waiting to tell his mom what happened today. Makoto was happy to see her son, and couldn't wait to hear what team he and Naruto were on. "What honey? And hello Naruto-kun, hope you had a nice day," said Makoto with a smile. Naruto smiled and waved in a happy manner. "Well, guess who's my teammates, and then guess who's my sensei," said Sasuke overfilled with joy. Is Naruto-kun on your team?" asked Makoto, hoping her son would be in good hands. Somewhat," said Sasuke with a sly smirk and in a thinking pose. While this exchange was going on, Naruto wanted to see Makoto's reaction. He worried she would say they should have a read Junin-sensei. "What do you mean somewhat, Sasuke-kun? I don't understand," said Makoto, clear confusion written all over her figure. Sasuke just smirked at what he was going to say. Heh. Wonder how she'll react to me telling her Naruto is my sensei along with Sakura as my teammate on the team, Sasuke thought. "Oh. Well, Naruto-sensei is my team's sensei, and my teammate is Sakura Haruno," Sasuke said with a knowing smirk. Makoto was a little astonished that a genin could shoot up and be a sensei for a two-man genin cell, and right out of the academy too, but then again, she was talking about the man that saved her and her son, and trainer her son who by now is at high Junin level. She finally got her mind straight and back to reality to say, "That's great Sasuke-kun. I can't believe Naruto-kun is a sensei, and yours no less," she said with a happy smile. Naruto lay a breath out he didn't know he was holding and smiled that she was happy and trusted her son in his hands. Maybe I should tell Sarutobi on what I have to do that involves me leaving the village and gathering the other Jinchuriki that Kyuubi-chan talked about. Why was I volunteered for this task again? UGHA, god damn it, well what's done is done, thought Naruto. Naruto was now looking at the scene of Makoto hugging her Sochi, son, happy as can be. Naruto let out an exaggerated caw to get their attention. Caw. Well, not to interrupt, but I do have to tell Sasuke his new schedule that he will be doing tomorrow morning, and as his sensei I need him fully rested and bathed before we start tomorrow, said Naruto. His teacher sighed. KCI King N. Makoto just smiled and nodded, released Sasuke, and gave him a push toward Naruto. You can go take a bath, then go to your room to discuss your new schedule and then get some sleep, she said sweetly. Sasuke just nodded and went upstairs to take a bath. After Sasuke bath, and getting his PJs on, Naruto and Sasuke walked into his room. Naruto was laying in his little doggy cap and PJs, in a cot Makoto got for him while Sasuke slept on his bed. Naruto was looking up into the darkness of HTE room and said, "Okay Sasuke, you will up your weights to 1,000 pounds on each limb. I will teach you 3 new jutsu that are 2 offensive, and 1 defensive, and we will improve your taijutsu and stealth. Tomorrow morning is when we start," he finished. "Hi, Naruto-sensei, good night," said Sasuke while yawning. "Good night Sasuke, good luck tomorrow," Naruto said tiredly. Naruto had drifted off to sleep and was slowly pulled to his mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes and was looking at a cloudless blue sky. He was laying down in a flower bed of multiple different colored flowers, varying from the brightest reds and green to the darkest blue and purples. He sat up and looked around. He was in a big field surrounded by a vast forest of trees. Each one had a piece of paper on it that said, "Seal." When he turned around, there was a king-sized bed with darkish orange drapes, resting on the vast amount of flowers. Naruto walked up to the bed and pulled back one of the orangish red drapes and saw a small fox with 9 tails swishing in the air unconsciously. This was the Kyuubi and she was fast asleep. Naruto leaned over the bed and scratched behind her ear. Kyuubi let out a small grumbling purr and opened her eyes. "Hey Kyuubi-chan, you ready to talk tonight?" said Naruto, a smile on his face that warmed Kyuubi's heart. She was the most feared demon in all of existence and the strongest demon at that. But when around this young man she would blush, stutter, occasionally, and even have fantasies of him on her doing things. He made her feel wanted and happy. "Yes, Naruto-kun, I am ready to talk," said Kyuubi while blushing. She looked up into his dark ocean blue eyes, lost in the vast sea of unknown that were branded as Naruto's eyes. She had never had a family of her own, she had never loved anyone in all the millennia she has been alive. But Naruto was the first, he captured her heart and she wanted to capture his too and have a family with him. She also loved how he could be so caring and compassionate to others that he trusted and cared for, and when addressing someone he didn't like his mood would do a 180 and turn to that of fury and anger. It turned her on like no other. "Kyuubi-chan? Kyuubi-chan? You there? Hello?" questioned Naruto, waving his hand in front of her face. Kyuubi started to blush, realizing she wasn't paying attention. "Oh, sorry, I spaced out there for a moment," said Kyuubi, rubbing the back of her paw in an embarrassed manner. "Oh well, that's okay, and I came to talk to you about my small confession," said Naruto, averting his gaze, rubbing his neck in embarrassment. Kyuubi smiled, she had been waiting all day to talk with Naruto about this. Yes, let's talk about your little slip of the tongue, so tell me, Naruto. What do you think of me?" questioned Kyuubi, waiting for his reply. "Well, I think you're nice, cute, funny, you cheer me up when I'm down, you are the most compassionate person I know, and I think it's cool you can be so nice yet be deadly in battle. To me you are my very first and best friend," said Naruto, smiling. Kyuubi was loving the praise from the man she loves, but hearing him say that he considers her only as a friend, her heart sank. She was about to speak when Naruto finished the rest of his statement. "You're white as hell, you have the most beautiful crimson hair, sparkling smile, and I love you," he said. Kyuubi was astonished. All she could think about were the last 3 words he said. Did he just say? He just said, "Oh God, he loves me too." Kyuubi finished her train of thought and started crying tears of joy and happiness. "Naruto-kun, sniff, do you really mean it? Sniffle asterisk," she cried out through sniffs and sniffles. "Yes, Kyuubi-chan, now can you please turn into your human form? What I want to give you, you would have to be in that form to receive it properly," said Naruto. Kyuubi gave a questioning look, wondering what he would give her, but calmly then reverted to her human form. She had bloody crimson hair that fell to the middle of her back and looked as smooth as silk. She had a face that could only be summed up as a goddess's. She also had eyes slanted slightly like a fox. The color of her eyes were dark red with sliver irises slanted like a predator's at night. Her lips were a pinkish hue, begging to make contact with another pair. She had 2 earrings, one was a fox and the other a half moon, both of them a light crimson color. She wore a dark reed kimono. On the kimono were many doves flying in different directions from a blazing sun located where her heart was. She had D-cup and on her right hip was a katana. The scabbard looked like moving blood while the guard was a pure gold and the hilt was a dark obsidian black color with a tight grip. She also had 2 cute fox ears poking out of her hair that were orange, with on the tip. Along with the ears she had 9 swishing foxtails that were also orange with white tips. All in all, Naruto thought she was the most beautiful person he had ever seen. She appeared to look 18, and was around 5 feet 7 compared to Naruto's 5 feet 6, but he didn't mind. "Alright, now Kyuubi, I would like to ask what you think of me before I present my gift to you," said Naruto, smiling while blushing. Kyuubi smiled and started by saying, "I think you are the most kind and compassionate person I know. I also think that you are cute, charming, and have amazingly awesome gravity-defying golden wild hair. You are funny and care for me like I care for you. You're my best friend ever and I know I love you too," finished Kyuubi, looking Naruto rigged in the eyes. "I think I can give you my gift now, Kyuubi-hime," smiled Naruto in a husky voice that sent pleasurable shivers up and down Kyuubi's back. Naruto walked up to the bed, never taking his eyes off of hers. He got up onto the bed and crawled up to Kyuubi. She wondered what gift he could have possibly gotten her when she felt something soft touch her lips. She looked and realized they were Naruto's lips. Naruto had his right hand behind her head, stroking her hair lovingly. His left hand was on her right cheek, softly pulling her into the passionate kiss. Kyuubi, now realizing the situation, flung her arms around Naruto's neck, resting them on his shoulders as she pulled back. They both fell back while in their lip lock and rested on the pillows, never breaking contact because air was irrelevant in his mindscape. During their connection, Naruto's left hand never left her cheek, but his right slowly went down to her back, pulling her tighter against him. Her D-cup beasts pushing against his muscle-toned chest. After a while she licked his lower lip asking for entrance. Naruto complied and allowed her access. The taste was as real to her as it was to him. He tasted of ramen, sugar, and a hint of blueberries. Odd, thought Kyuubi, but she still loved the taste. Naruto also was allowed entrance into her mouth. He explored all the crevasses and recesses known as her mouth. To him she tasted like cinnamon, strawberries, and the slight hint of vanilla. He wondered if that was the taste of her or the smell of her aroma. He didn't care and just kept going. She moaned into his mouth multiple times, wrapping a leg around his legs. After about 5 more minutes they broke apart, a small string of saliva connecting them by their bottom lips. "So, you like my present?" asked Naruto with a smirk while still staring into her eyes. "I think my birthday came early," said Kyuubi with a cute playful smile. He smiled back and gave her a small chaste kiss on Tae's lips. "Great, I'm happy you liked it, because to me that meant more than physical contact. It expressed all the emotions I couldn't express about you in words," said Naruto, a grin on his face. Kyuubi was happier than she has ever been in her life. And sync et hats like over a millennia of years, that shows how special this is to her. "So, does this mean we are together now?" asked Kyuubi, looking as innocent as can be. Naruto chuckled and said, "Yes, Kyuubi-hime, only if you want to." He smiled his big gothy smile and gave her one last kiss on the lips. "Good night, my hime," he said. "Good night, Naruto Koi," whispered Kyuubi, laying on the bed with Naruto, cuddling up to him using his chiseled chest as a pillow. With a sigh of content from both parties they fell asleep in each other's arms. It was a beautiful morning. Sasuke had just woken up, taken a shower and walked out from the steam-filled room with his normal garb on. Okay, it's his canon clothing from the beginning series, okay? Same with all the Konoha 12, their clothing doesn't change from the beginning series unless I say it, okay? Otherwise picture them with whatever clothing they had then, unless I put them in new clothing, then that is what they will wear 24/7. Cheeky smiley face, and went to wake up Naruto, his team's sensei. "Hey," said Sasuke, shaking Naruto lightly. "Come on, we got to get to the training ground by 6, he said, while Naruto grunted and clamped his eyes shut. Damn son. Well Sasuke, I want you to go on to the training grounds and—" "Shit," said Naruto, now wide awake and sitting upright. "Crap. Sasuke, tell Sakura to meet at training ground number 44. I forgot to tell you, and it's a secluded area, so I'll be there a little late. I'll be there around 6:30, okay? Because I have something to do, so get a move on, man," said Naruto, already out of his futon and heading for the shower, grabbing a storage scroll from under his futon. Sasuke didn't know what the scroll was needed for in there, but shrugged it off. He had to hurry and find Sakura and take her to the training grounds Naruto had said they would train at. So he was off to find her while Naruto took a shower, then get dressed. Time skip, 12 minutes. Naruto stepped out of the shower, dried off, and put on some orange boxers with small chibi Kyubis all over them. He took a look in the mirror and smiled slightly. Today he would get rid of his normal orange jumpsuit and look as shinobi-like as possible. He was a sensei of a team after all, he had to look like one. He picked up the storage scroll he brought in and pumped chakra into it so the stuff would come out. With an audible poof, and through white smoke, 2 katanas and some clothes folded up on top of each other appeared. And on top of the clothes next to the katanas were a pair of black stealth shoes with soles that when you step make no sound and are as smooth as leather. He grabbed the clothes and started to dress. He grabbed his first article of clothing on the pile that was a pair of Enbu-style pants that were baggy around the ankles. They were the color of black obsidian and had many pockets for scrolls, kunai, and the like. Then he grabbed a fishnet t-shirt and put that on. He then grabbed a pair of black silk-ish socks and put them on his feet. Next he took his stealth sneakers he had and felt the smoothness of the leathery inside to the feel of his feet through his socks. He strapped on a small strap with 4 small square pouches on the front to his left thigh. Within the 4 pouches was starts from his right to his left, a small scroll with a first aid kit in it, soldier pills, chakra pellets, foot pellets, and the last one on the far left was a slightly bigger pouch with a 1" by 4" scroll in it. He then put a kunai pouch and shuriken pouch on each butt cheek and attached both of his swords to his back in an X-like fashion. One of his swords had a light golden scabbard that had a design of golden leaves all the way to the guard that seemed to slowly move, odd. The seeable part of the sword was a golden guard, a hilt with a complex grip adorned with criss-cross blue and black leather straps in the shape of diamonds. A chain seemed to attach to the end of the hilt that was about 4 to 5 inches long, swaying in a non-existent wind. His next sword was his father's when he was younger. His father used it only in battle and never let anyone besides family and very close friends see it. All his enemies died before they could spread word of this devastating sword. Naruto didn't know what the sword could do, but he figured that it had to be good for his father to be able to keep it a secret for so long. He had found out who his father was when he went to hide from the villagers in the Hokage office and saw his folder on the Hokage's desk. His curiosity got too high and he read who his parents were and what bloodlines they had. To say he was surprised was a huge understatement, and he found out he had a clan estate that he couldn't get to until he was at least Chunin status, but he agreed and was given the sword. He worked on his kenjutsu for over 4 years and was now very fluid with a sword, very close to a master at it, but not just yet. The sword's scabbard was pure emerald green with a silver dragon swirling up to the top to the guard like it would eat it. The guard of the sword was black as the darkest night and its hilt was an interesting design. On one half of the hilt was a dark crimson with a pitch black dot in the middle, the other half was a pitch black color and had a dark crimson dot on it. He looked himself over and smiled while grabbing the net piece of clothing. He had grabbed his plain black muscle t-shirt with A verses for where you put your neck through, showing off some skin through his fishnet t-shirt. The shirt would tighten around his body like spandex and you could see his chiseled chest and abs. He grabbed a black right-handed fingerless glove and put it on. Where his knuckles were, there were 1/4 inch metal chakra spikes that could have chakra put into them to make them more deadly when punching. After he put on the glove, he grabbed a leather wristband that seemed to rotate around his wrist slowly, giving off the faint hint of electric chakra. There were small 1/4 of an inch circles made of chakra-conductive metal every other inch on the wristband. He put this article of his outfit on his left wrist. He took his hot I-8 and wrapped it around his neck. It hung loosely around his neck but was tied tight so it would not fall off. He was nearly fully dressed in his new clothing, so he giddily grabbed an assassination knife armband that if channeled chakra to a seal on the underbelly of the knife sheath it would shoot out. This assassination knife was strapped around his left arm, bicep by 3 leather straps. He then smiled at the last couple things left. One was a trench coat like his father wore, but on the back was a fox with 9 tails that when worn looked like they were swaying back and forth when moving. The trench coat had black flames along the bottom, while up toward the top where the collar was a big black cloud with lightning bolts striking down to around 6 inches above the kyubi. His collar was longer in the back where his hair lay on, with his wild golden blonde hair going to about 2 inches below his shoulders as his hair spiked out in every direction and 2 bangs draped near his eyes and down to his cheekbones. He put on his trench coat and picked up the last thing to add to himself, which in all actuality was not a piece of clothing, but like his swords, was a valuable tool in combat. He picked up a piece of paper he designed after learning his father's techniques of Rasengan and the Hiraishin. He made a seal from the Hiraishin that allowed him to put it on his hand and whenever he wanted could transfer a copy of the seal from his hand to be able to teleport to that sport whenever he wanted. He put the piece of paper face up so he could see the complex design, and took his left hand and put his left palm on the seal. He pumped some chakra to the seal and the seal glowed blue then went dull. The light faded and Naruto lifted up his hand to look at his palm. He got a smirk on his face when he realized it worked. Naruto then burnt the paper so no one else could copy his work since the only copy was the ones he could make with his hand. Naruto looked himself over in the mirror that now only had remnants of the fog on the mirror so he could see himself. He looked over everything one more time and walked out of the bathroom. He had been in there for over 20 minutes, and it was now 6:14. He walked down the hall and down the stairs to get a quick bite to eat. When he reached the bottom he turned to his right where the kitchen was and knew Makoto was in there cleaning dishes from hearing the sink running and the clank of dishes being put away. He went in to get his quick bite to eat then leave so he walked into the living room and to the door to the kitchen. He stepped through the door to see Makoto right across from him washing the dishes in the sink. To her right was a stove. To her left was many cupboards with the utensils for everyday kitchen stuff Naruto didn't care to name due to not knowing half of what they were called or did. In the middle of the room was the island counter with tile on top, the color yellow and light blue every other square. To his left near the door were more cupboards and a microwave. To Naruto's right was a counter with the same patterned tile as the island counter. Above counter were pots and pans hanging from metal racks to be used for cooking. There was a vase in front of Makoto with a purple tulip in it, being sprayed with light from the sun through the window. Outside the window was a very nice garden with bushes lining the outer rim, and fruits and vegetables in the middle of it all, growing at a nice even pace. The windows had sky blue drapes to be closed so later at night when they eat people could not just walk by and look in. Even though the Uchiha compound was deserted, it never said that people never came in and tried to steal from the houses, because people always loved to eat as a family and with friends. Naruto got over looking around and spoke up, "Makoto-san, can you quickly make me something to eat on the way to the team meeting? I'm already late for meeting them as it is," said Naruto. Makoto didn't turn around but responded, "I'll bring you a bento box and a quick snack at the door. You're running late so I'll be there in a sec." And she went to work without looking at him. Naruto smiled and said, "Okay thanks," and walked back out into the door in front of the stairs he came down from. Naruto was waiting there for only 2 minutes before Makoto came out of the kitchen looking over everything in the bento box, making sure it was all there, and said, "Okay. I made you some sushi, white rice, rice balls, and some dessert for later when you have lunch. Here's your SNA," Makoto said, before looking up to hand him his food and stopped mid-sentence. She had just seen Naruto's new look and wild mane of hair and thought, "Damn. Without that orange jumpsuit and with a new pair of clothes he looks even hotter," thought Makoto before blushing and shaking her head of naughty thoughts. "No, I can't think of Naruto-kun like that in front of him. But mental UAL moan, he looks so hot. And he has grown in the time he has been here, and I think I like him? No, I love him. But he is young, then again his posture and maturity boosts him up to seem around 18. Sigh, what's wrong with me? I'm not supposed to like people my son's age. Why can't Naruto be a little older? He's too damn hot for his age. And besides, he would never love someone as old as me." Mental small sob from knowing that love had been taken away from her, thought Makoto, turning another shade of red, adding to her blush, and a tiny amount of liquid forming at the edge of her eyelids. "Well, I like the new look, Naruto-kun. Here is the bento and snack I made for you to eat on the way," said Makoto, closing her eyes and smiling a little. "Thanks Makoto-san, I'll be on my wa," said Naruto before his eyes froze, and he ran up the steps to his and Sasuke's room. Makoto looked up the stairs confused, then Makoto looked down at her gray sweatpants, pink t-shirt, and white apron with frills. "Maybe I should start dressing ladylike," thought Makoto. Then a sly grin came to her face while she was thinking, or just more wire, who knows, maybe I'll get a couple reactions out of Naruto-kun, heh, she thought. She knew she had feelings for Naruto that grew when he saved her and her son while getting to know him. Many nights she would think of our blonde hero and do things to herself when she knew no one was able to hear or look at her. She was unable to take the tension of the man she loved not ravishing her from dawn to dusk. She never knew that feeling, and she craved it the most. Fugaku was a terrible husband to her. He first raped her on her 18th birthday because she was the strongest kunoichi at the time in the Uchiha clan, and then got her pregnant with a child, Itachi. He then raped her once again to get Sasuke. Since Itachi was a Uchiha prodigy, he wanted Sasuke to be even better. All the while when he raped her he always made sure to hurt her, never letting her feel delight, even though she would never want to feel delight from him. She always tried to love her children, and over time she did, but she could never love the man that gave them to her. She may thank him, but not love him. He was just too evil and sadistic to be worthy of her love, which Naruto was. He was the only thing that kept Makoto from resigning to fate and realizing she would never love. She saw Naruto in a light most people didn't. She saw his kind nature, his generosity toward people even if they hated them. She saw his loving side that made her always blush to see, and she saw his prowess. He was very strong, Makoto knew. She had watched many of her sons and his friends' training sessions and was always more fascinated with Naruto's training sessions. She loved her son to death, but she loved him like a mother should. But just the slight mention of Naruto made her heart flutter. She just wished he could love her too. He was the only man she would probably ever love in her life. Before she could think any more about it, said man came down the steps in a rush, his bento box under his right armpit, and a giant scroll about 8 inches around and 4 feet long attached by a strap horizontally across his back. He rushed up to Makoto and enveloped her in a hug. "See you later, Makoto-chan," he said, without noticing that he had added the affectionate suffix, while letting go and running outside, rushing to training ground 44 by foot for a quick workout. Makoto stared at the retreating figure with a blush present on her face due to the hug and the added suffix to her name, the faintest droplet of blood coming out of her nose. "Sigh, he may not be able to see how I feel, but life is good if hugs like that can happen more often," thought Makoto while sniffing the drop of blood back up her nose before any stray Anbu that guard the compound could see it and shut the door. Naruto was running through the busy marketplace. Many people looked on at him with astonishment on their faces at the boldness of the Kyuubi container flaunting the image of the Kyuubi around. Girls left and right saw him and a considerable amount blushed. Some also had small nosebleeds. The age of these women ranged from 14 to 30, and some 12-year-old girl gushed back from a massive nosebleed. She had thoughts so naughty her perverseness overloaded and fainted while in mid-gush. Naruto then took a shortcut through the training fields. He saw many of the people in his class. He saw the Ino Shika Cho team as well as he passed by. Shikamaru just looked at Naruto's new outfit and had to think, suits him. That orange jumpsuit was an eyesore, but still troublesome. Choji just ate chips and thought, much cool much asterisk. Ino's reaction was the weirdest. She was blushing while thinking, oh my god. Without that jumpsuit he is actually hot. I wonder if I can't get Sasuke the maybe, dirty thoughts asterisk. Ino then had a small nosebleed and a shit-eating grin on her face. Hey guys, said Naruto. He ran across to the next training field saying, bye guys, and left. Shikamaru still had to think it was troublesome while Choji thought he still looked cool, and Ino, well Ino had this to think of, I wonder what he would look like without, even worse perverse thoughts asterisk, and then was blown back from her own nosebleed, while the other guys kept training ignoring their sudden overload of perverted thinking. Naruto then came to the next training ground that consisted of Kurenai Uchiha, Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame. Naruto then said hi as he passed by while still running. Kurenai looked at his clothing and blushed and had to stop her thoughts of perverseness because she already had a man. Although she did have to agree with all the other girls before her, he looked hot. But she shook that thought out of her head and went back to whatever she was doing. Hinata's reaction was to faint, which Naruto's sweat dropped it and asked if she has to do that every time she sees him? Which Kiba just shook his head in the affirmative and thought he looked a lot better and that his trench coat looks badass. Shino just raised an eyebrow and said, nice look Naruto, and may I ask where you are going? Naruto kept running while yelling back, to my team meeting, I'm late as it is, have fun training with our sensei and teammates. And just as he had arrived, he was gone. Naruto was now in a full-on sprint and he could see training ground 44. As he got closer he noticed 3 people there, Sasuke, Sakura, and some girl with purple hair that looked like Shikamaru's, a grayed trench coat, orange miniskirt that went to mid-thigh, and a fishnet shirt under the trench coat. All in all she looked like she knew a couple of kinky things and knows how to have a good time. Off-topic grr. Naruto arrived on the scene of the purple-haired woman, who he now knew was a kunoichi by seeing her headband. The purple-haired woman looked angry, and slightly disheveled for some reason, and was yelling at a screeching Sakura. How I hate the screech of that banshee. God shut the fuck up. Your voice is so fucking annoying you pink-haired fucking banshee, said the purple-haired woman. Sakura just pouted and went, humph, while crossing her arms under her non-existent cleavage. While Sasuke was thanking the heavens that they had finally stopped Sakura's banshee screaming. Naruto walked up to the 3 who hadn't noticed him yet and said, may I ask what is going on? The purple-haired kunoichi jumped and looked at Naruto. After sizing him up she thought, he looks really cute with those whisker marks, and hot altogether. Sorrowful sigh, oh well, there's no point in messing with him. She put on a fake smirk for a mask and said, name's Anko Mitarashi, the Y, Anko Mitarashi, and don't you forget it. And well, this banshee was annoying me by screeching and whatnot. And may I ask what you are doing here? Asked Anko. My name's Naruto Uzumaki, we are here to have a team meeting with my teammates. This place was a deserted area where people don't go often, so we came to have privacy, said Naruto giving a fake smile, knowing that she had put on a mask. Which made him curious. Anko just fake smiled back and said, oh, Well, this here field is my neck of the woods, so if you could ask your sensei when he gets here why he didn't inform me that his or her team would be here today, that would be greatly appreciated. Especially with how I am feeling lately, I could have gone into a fit of rage and tried to kill them. I got to get out of here, thought Anko nervously. After seeing that Anko didn't know that he was their sensei, he put on a sly foxy grin. Oh. Well, I didn't know someone was out here. I'm terribly sorry, said Naruto a little sarcastically. Anko looked at him, shrugged, and left. She still didn't catch on that Naruto was their sensei. All she knew was she had to get out of there. Naruto watched Anko head over the fence and into the woods. He turned to address Sasuke and Sakura. Sakura, please from now on keep your voice down. We don't want you to burst our eardrums. Now let's come up with a training schedule for you, and then train. After we train we will do simple D ranks even though we don't have to. I want your teamwork to be boosted up so I don't have to worry about you on simple C ranks. We will train every day until the end of the next week so that we may go on a C rank mission if we have our teamwork down, said Naruto. Sakura just pouted again but agreed. Sasuke knew his schedule already so he listened in on what Sakura's would be. Okay Sakura, you are very smart, have good chakra control, but no physical strength and a very low amount of chakra overall in your body. I am going to teach you medic ninjutsu. Due to your great chakra control, you will be the medic on your team. I will teach you all I know of the arts. I will also make sure to hide in your chakra reserves. They are too small so I will at least try and get you to Chunin level reserves, he said. I will also teach you to be faster, not as fast as us, but fast enough to get to long distances faster than most teams. The other thing I will give you will save you countless times. Now come here, said Naruto. Sakura was happy to be taught the many things Naruto had said, and walked up to Naruto. Naruto lifted up his left hand and showed Sakura his palm with the Hiraishin seal on it. This, Sakura, is a seal. I can pass it unto to others, and when you are in trouble and need saving, or something like that, pump chakra to it, and I will be notified by my seal on my palm and will come to help you out, replied Naruto. Sakura looked at Naruto like he was crazy, but this was Naruto in his serious demeanor so she knew he wasn't being stupid. So what does that mean? She questioned. Naruto smiled kindly. Well, this seal will stay on you until I deem that you don't need protection. So all I'm saying is you're getting a temporary tattoo. As I stated before, you would be under my constant protection with the seal on, and I will take it off you once you don't need protecting. Or you're a Chunin, either one, shrugged Naruto. Sakura thought it over and agreed and told him to put it on her left shoulder blade. She then lifted up the hem of her shirt and blushed that Sasuke could obviously see her ugly ass body, not her words, mine carrot, and white training bra, not that she needed it, and awaited Naruto to put on the seal. Naruto put his palm on her bare skin after she lifted up part of her shirt and pumped chakra into the seal to transfer a copy to her body. The complex design splayed out over her shoulder blade, indicating the transfer was a success, and Sakura put her shirt back down all the way. Alright, I will create a clone to teach you medic ninjutsu, while Sasuke trains with another clone doing his schedule one devised last night. I will be deep in the forest training, and before I forget, Sasuke, come here, you need a seal too, in case I can never find you, he said. Sasuke nodded and thought on where he wanted the seal, and decided on his right shoulder. Naruto nodded and put his hand on his shoulder, applying the seal. Okay, well, I'm off. See you when my clones dispel at noon, Yane, said Naruto, jumping over the fence after two clones showed up and took their target to opposite areas around the training ground. Naruto was running, jumping north from their position through the trees, when he happened upon a clearing. He spotted a figure in the clearing and jumped up on a tree branch looking at the figure. On closer inspection he realized it was Anko. She seemed to be practicing a taijutsu style called the Hubby style Naruto had found out about from the old man, Jii. Naruto watched in mild interest at her fighting style. To him it was like watching a snake dance and dodge an invisible adversary. But after another 5 minutes while Naruto was still watching, she started getting sloppy, more aggressive and agitated. Anko was practicing her style and couldn't help but reflect on her life. She always had a mask of aggressiveness and a scowl on so others would leave her alone and not mess with her. She wore this mask ever since her sensei left her and gave her his stupid cursed seal. Ever since then people would call her names like, snake bitch, and snake whore. She never showed it, but every time someone said this she would inwardly cry and be sad. The more she thought about this, the more aggressive and sloppy her moves got, until she finally broke, mask and all. She stopped in mid-kick and stayed still until she went limp, fell down, and started crying and sobbing because her life seemed so pointless. She saw no point in living and was thinking she should commit suicide. This thought just made her cries even shakier and louder. Naruto was watching this scene unfold and felt bad for her. He knew she had a mask on when she was talking with him and his team, and after all, he has had a mask on most of his life. He thought it over and jumped down silently, slowly walking from behind Anko, who was on her knees sobbing in her hands. Sob after painful sob. Anko was slowly agreeing with committing suicide. She was finally about to grab a kunai and kill herself, when she felt two strong arms wrap around her from behind, a strong chest pushing against her back, and a head on her shoulders shushing her. She turned her head, her eyes a little red and puffy from crying, and looked at the person. She had turned and came face to face with the boy she saw earlier. She was wondering what the hell he was doing here and why he was hugging her when he raised his right hand and wiped her tears away from her face with his thumb. "Hey, you okay? Why are you crying?" asked Naruto in a nice calm voice, giving her a smile that made her almost want to smile also, but she couldn't, she was too sad. "It's none of your business, Gaki," said Anko, putting on her mask that shows she is angry and looks scary. Most the time when guys see it they quiver, but Naruto knew it was only a mask to hide what she truly felt, and he squeezed just a little more in the hug. "You're not fooling me with your mask to hide your emotions. I've lived my whole life with one, now please, tell me what's wrong," he said. Anko frowned and dropped her mask. She looked deep into his eyes to see if he had any ill intentions, but found none. "Well, if you must know, I'm crying, stupid Gaki," said Anko in a sad sobby type of matter-in-fact tone. Naruto just smiled at her and said, "It's okay, you can tell me what is really bothering you." He tightened his grip just a smidge more and she felt warm and good inside. She didn't know why, but she felt like she could trust him. He had this aura that made you feel so safe, so secure, so needed. "I'm crying because no one accepts me. Only very few treat me like a normal person, and I'm thinking of killing myself because no one wants me around. I can't control what my sensei did." "It's not my sob, sniff fault," said Anko, starting to sniffle and sob toward the end of her speech. Naruto smiled sadly and said, "If you want, I will be your friend. I only have like 4 true friends, and you seem nice. The villagers are stupid if they can't see that you are only a harmless, nice, kind, and cute woman." His smile brightened and he continued to say, "You are strong in your own right and I would love to be your friend," he finished while whipping one small tear that ran down her right cheek. Anko blushed and looked hopeful. She smiled at him and turned her whole body to face him and hugged him back. She was happy she had someone that understood her pain. She knew he housed the Kyuubi, but she didn't care. He understood and accepted her with open arms, literally. Also, to top it off, she thought he was hot, with his new look and those cute whisker marks, toned chest and kind-hearted nature. He may be younger than her, but she didn't care. She wanted friendship and understanding, and this young man was willing to give that to her. Anko pulled back from the hug, arms still wrapped around him, and look in his eyes. "Thank you," she said before kissing him on the cheek. Naruto blushed and said, heh, no problem," while looking away, a blush still on his face. After a lapse of awkward silence, Naruto turned to Anko. Hey Anko-chan, not that this hug isn't nice and all, but I have to return to my team in an hour, and I came in here to train. Would you like to join me?" he asked kindly with a small smile on his face. She smiled back and nodded silently, meaning yes. He got up and walked about 30 feet to their right and created 1,000 shadow clones. Anko just stared in awe and watched as the mass of clones all said in unison, "Hi boss," and saluted. Anko giggled slightly at his army and waited for what Naruto would tell them. Naruto faced his army and said, "Alright, listen up men. I want Group A of 250 clones to add your other elements to the Rasengan. I want Group B of 100 clones to do chakra control by walking on water while keeping a Rasengan stable in one hand while doing push-ups on the surface of the water. Group C will consist of 350 clones going through the Kenjutsu katas we are training with so I can hold a blade like a master. Group D will be made up of the last 300 clones. You will use our knowledge and use that jutsu as long as you can until you dispel. Now, move out," said Naruto, finishing his orders to his army. They all saluted again and said, "Hi Naruto-sama," yelling and running to their designated group in an orderly fashion. Anko stared on as all the clones started training on what they were told to do, while the D group went to a different part of the forest. She turned toward the original Naruto and watched in wonder as he was practicing a taijutsu style she had never seen and walked up to him. "Hey Gaki, what style is that? I've never seen that one," questioned Anko. Naruto stopped after completing a right uppercut while doing a sideways flip to the left and knocked an invisible opponent out while in mid-flip with a right roundhouse kick, and stared at Anko, sweat glistening on his forehead from moving so fast. "Oh, I created this style. It's called Crimson Maelstrom. The version I am using right now is the first stage called Maelstrom Dance. The second stage is when I actually start trying and it's called Crimson Fox," he said to Anko, who thought how a genin could make his own fighting style, but dropped it and asked if he wanted to spar. Naruto just grinned his mischievous foxy grin and agree, which sent chills down Anko's spin form seeing that grin on his face. Anko used her hubby style against Naruto's own style, but every time she would go on the offensive he would dodge with grace and speed, when on the defensive side she would get pounded and pummeled. While this was going on she wondered three things. 1. How can a genin be this good? 2. His fighting style was well developed and left no opening. And finally 3. If this is the first stage, what's the second? After 30 minutes of sparring, a sweating but perfectly fine Naruto and a bruised and limping Anko called it quits. "Damn Gaki, that's one harsh fighting style, and to beat me I must be losing my game to lose to a genin who just got on a team," said Anko, a little winded and disappointed in herself for slacking off. "Heh, Anko-chan, don't feel bad, you aren't lacking in skill, you are a very fine kunoichi, and it's just that I'm a lot better, no offense," said Naruto with a sheepish grin. Anko was wondering how he could be better and asked how he could be stronger than a Tokubetsu Junin. His reply shocked her. "Oh, well, for one I am the leader of my squad since we don't have a Junin sensei. And I was Junin level at the age of 6, at the age of 10 I was Sannin level, and over the years I became better than most Kage," he said like it was an everyday thing and shrugged. Anko gaped for a bit until she composed herself and asked, "What? You're only like 14, you can't be that strong, and what, you can't be a squad leader? Only Junin can and no one has ever commanded a whole team right out of the academy. Even Itachi was a prodigy but had a Junin who was a superior to him," she said, not really believing Naruto. "Oh, so you want proof?" asked Naruto, putting on his foxy grin again. "Yeah, I'd like to see this proof of yours," said Anko smugly. Naruto, still with his foxy grin on, dispelled his clones one by one. When the last one dispelled he looked Anko in the eyes and said, "You ready? I'm gonna unsuppress my chakra for 5 seconds if you can handle it. I have never really unsuppressed my whole amount of chakra so I really don't know how much I am putting out on you." She nodded, thinking he wasn't any threat. When he released some of his chakra, he made sure to release only a little of it so he wouldn't kill her under the strain. The second he released his chakra she fell to the ground panting, trying to breathe but found she couldn't. He let up and suppressed his chakra again. Once he did you could hear her greedily suck in air to her lungs. Naruto looked down at Anko and smiled. "That was a small amount of my true amount of chakra, believe me now, if not I can release a little more and your clothes will be shredded under the strain, unless you want me to see your gorgeous naked body," said Naruto, flirting with her and giving her a sly foxy grin. Anko blushed and looked away after catching her breath. They've only been friends for an hour and he was hitting on her. Not that she was complaining since she thought he was hot for his age, and she felt so sure with him. Shut up Gaki," she stammered out. Naruto laughed slightly because he knew that he was eye candy for girls with his new outfit since his old one hid all of his masculine features. He wasn't a jerk like other guys that drew the women's eyes toward them, and he was young. But he was mature for his age, mature enough to have an 18 to 20-year-old's mentality. He smiled and looked at the now standing and blushing Anko. "Hey, Anko-chan, I have to get back with my team, but would you like to catch up and get to know each other as friends? And maybe I can add you to my small list of precious people," he said. Anko looked happy. She didn't go out with friends much except for with Kurenai and Yugo. They were the only two that she trusted, and all the males would ogle her so she only felt safe with those two, but she felt safe with Naruto also so she agreed. "Great, we'll see you at 7 o'clock tonight for dinner, okay?" questioned Naruto with his ever-present grin. Anko smirked and told him, "Alright Gaki, see you tonight, don't be late," she finished while licking a kunai and gave him a mischievous grin. Naruto laughed nervously and said, "Heh, yes of course Anko-chan, no worries." He walked up to her and gave her a hug, said goodbye and left. Anko smiled one of her true smiles and thought, if I can live life with him around, I wouldn't mind all the stares and names, as long as he's there with me to help. She shunshin ed to her favorite Dango shop to see both her friends Kurenai and Yugo. Sitting there at a table, she plopped down next to them and told them of her day. Naruto, after being out of sight from Anko, used his Hiraishin and teleported to where Sasuke was. He arrived in a flash of yellowish red as his clone dispelled so Naruto could learn on how hard Sasuke worked on his new schedule. He smiled to his friend and said, "Nice job Sasuke. Keep it up and by the age of 16 you will be Sannin level." He finished with a high five to Sasuke. Sasuke was sweating all over from having an intense workout of taijutsu, ninjutsu, and practice with his Sharingan. It took a lot out of him, but to hear praise from his sensei and best friend he smiled. "Thanks Naruto-sensei. I appreciate the praise. Let's go find Sakura to be able to start out daily missions," said Sasuke, receiving a towel to wipe sweat away from his face and forehead from Naruto. Naruto nodded and they both walked to the opposite side to Sakura's training area, which was on the right of the main gate to Area 44. Naruto and Sasuke arrived on the scene of Sakura vigorously doing push-ups while balancing leaves on her forehead. The more she sweat, the denser the leaves' material got from soaking up some of the salty liquid, making her have to concentrate more on her chakra and control. Naruto wondered how his clone got her so pumped and learned how once it dispelled. The Naruto clone couldn't get her to budge for the life of it, which regularly isn't long cheeky smiley face, or even have her start training, until his clone thought of something that Naruto had to face palm himself for. His clone had made a copy of Sasuke, body and all, with his Waijutsu, but the change was Sasuke had all his clothes on, until his clone took off the shirt and showed Sakura, Sasuke's, chest. The clone had said if she worked hard that he would take off his shorts and boxers. This then got a rise out of Sakura and she worked like she had never before. The clone had not yet shown her and so it fell upon him to do so. He was not pleased. Sakura, seeing the clone dispel, stopped her workout and headed up to Naruto and Sasuke. "Alright. Hold up your end of the bargain," she said with the faintest hint of blood already coming from her nose. Naruto put up a thinking pose before smiling. This made Sakura wary of what he would say. "Alright, I'll agree, but," said Naruto, pausing to look at Sakura, who was thinking why was there a but. After seeing her questioning glance he continued, "I don't know if you will keep working hard like this after I show you, so I'm gonna make a deal with you." Sakura quickly blurted out a reply, desperately trying to see the figurative image of Sasuke's package. "I will. I mean I will. But wait, what's the deal?" she asked. Naruto smiled and said, "Oh, I will show you what you want, but as collateral so you will keep working I will tell you something. If you don't work as hard as you did just now, every day, I will use my Waijutsu to make a copy of you and walk around naked all day through the village. Sound fair?" said Naruto with a smirk. Sakura paled but agreed. Naruto transformed into Sasuke without clothes on this time, showing her his package. Sasuke was furious but knew Naruto couldn't go back on his word, so he knew it was futile to stop him. Sakura fell back from a giant torrent of blood that gushed out of her nose and was rushed to the hospital due to a large amount of blood loss. They both had to stop for the day because they were not the ones that needed experience from mission, Sakura was. And if she was gone it was pointless. So Naruto waited till later tonight when he would pick up Anko and have dinner. He smiled, dismissed Sasuke, and went to train a little more before taking a shower and getting dressed in his civilian garb. Time skipped to the woods outside Konoha. Naruto had just finished training outside the village in the forest when an all-too-familiar figure showed up. The figure was a man with a giant white mane, red GI-type coat with a fishnet shirt, shinobi pants, and Japanese-style sandals. This figure was Jiraiya the Sannin, the Toad Sage, author of the ICHA series, Super Pervert, and lastly Naruto's godfather, Sensei. Naruto found his presence annoying sometimes, but he was a strong man and an okay sensei, but he had no respect for women, and he had an obsession with them. Naruto respected the opposite. He didn't know why, but he didn't like men who couldn't see them for more than eye candy, fuck toys, or breeding stock. Jiraiya thought of them as eye candy, and would make books that degraded them. That was why Naruto always called him Ero-sensei. Naruto was now face to face with his sensei Jiraiya and said man was looking at what was on Naruto's back. No one had asked him what it was all day, and this had been the first time he wore it out in public. He was happy no one had brought it up and asked what it was, but he knew Jiraiya would, and he didn't want to deal with it. Unfortunately that wouldn't happen. Gaki, is that what I think it is? Jiraiya said while pointing at Naruto's scroll. The scroll Naruto had was 4 feet long and 8 inches in diameter. The scroll had red scales all around the scroll casing that looked like it could combust into flames from the darkish orange it shined with, except for a small parchment on the scroll with the kanji for summon on it. Oh this, said Naruto pulling the scroll from his back and setting it up vertically, leaning on it. This is a summoning contract. Why do you ask? Asked Naruto, hoping that he didn't ask what he could summon, but once again this was not his day. I can see that. What I want to know is what is the summons. Every time I asked you to sign the toad contract, you would decline. What contract could you have that would be better than becoming a toad sage and summoning toads? Said Jiraiya, waving his hands in the air, getting angry at his student that didn't take his contract. Although he did listen intently on what the contract held, he had never seen anything like it. Well, hellhounds, said Naruto sheepishly, cursing his bad luck. In heaven, Lady Luck got a warm wonderful shiver up her spine. Ooh, I hope Naruto-kun is talking about me. He must be praising me. Well, back to work on Tsunade. He. You can't escape me anymore, Tsunade. You have embarrassed me for the last time. Let's see how you like bad luck. Ha, that will teach you not to say you got the best boobs that any female would die for. PSH, I got a better pair, so do some of the other gods up here. Muhahaha suffer. Back down on earth with Naruto and Jiraiya. Jiraiya guffawed at Naruto and his jaw hit the dirt. He didn't believe that Naruto had the contract that men and women alike had searched for years. How do you have that? Many have searched the world for that you hold right there. They searched volcanoes and died cheeky smiley face. They searched the tallest mountains. And they still never found it, so many came back empty-handed. Now please explain to me, on how, you, a 14-year-old Gaki, got that? Asked Jiraiya, wondering how a kid could nab the most powerful summons. He had heard that the hellhounds had chosen a summoner from the toads, along with probably every other person with a summoning contract, but they would not tell who he or she was due to the hellhounds asking that they not tell anyone under the highest law there was in the summoning realm. And to see he knew the person who had, well, he was curious. I don't have time for this shit. But it all started a couple years ago, said Naruto in a distant voice with a faraway look on his face. Flashback Naruto. Age 5, a year or so after meeting the Kyuubi. It was a dark and lonely night. The moon was full, illuminating the figures below it. The night was pitch black. The only thing that could be heard or seen this late at night was a group of adults chasing a small figure with blonde sun-kissed hair covered in dirt, rags for clothes, and hand clutching at his right side where a shinobi had stabbed him with a kunai. This figure was a boy named Naruto Uzumaki, the container of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, Yoko, and a harmless little orphan child who lived on the streets. Right now he was running from the mob of people wanting revenge for what the Kyuubi did to them, ranging from the death of family, the death of friends, and the death of the ones you loved. Today was the anniversary of the fox's attack on the village, and every year at this time many people would search for the child that holds the demon inside him, hoping to cause damage to the prisoner and the jailer from keeping them from harming the beast. A loud cry for death, pain, and sorrow was all Naruto could hear as he ran through the village, trying to lose the mob of more than 100 villagers and shinobi chasing him. The light of the moon shining on him every time he passed an ally before being engulfed by the dark again when he ran in front of a house. Leave me alone, cried Naruto while in a full-on sprint, running as fast as his little legs would let him. Shut your mouth, demon, you're the reason we lost so much, and today we want our revenge, yelled one of the random villagers, slowly catching up to the blonde. Naruto just sped up and turned a corner on his right. When he hit a dead end, he cursed his bad luck and hoped to get out before the villagers caught up. He turned around to leave when he saw all the villagers blocking his escape, Cursing again under his breath, Naruto ran to the end of the alley to hide. He found a box full of those little packing peanuts, and he jumped in, and closed the box shut. The villagers ran down the alley after him. They looked around until a villager found him in his hiding spot. Everyone was upon the small boy in a matter of seconds. The villagers pulled out many blunt and sharp objects, while the shinobi pulled out kunai, katanas, shuriken, senbon, and one had a fish filleter. That's how it spelled it on Google. Cheeky smiley face. He knew this wasn't good. Kyuubi-chan, please be ready to heal me. This isn't gonna be fun, thought Naruto. Alright, but why won't you let me see what's happening? Questioned Kyuubi. I'm sorry, but I don't want you to see what happens to me, he replied while shutting off their mental and visual link. The villagers were first. They stabbed, slashed, jabbed, punched and kicked at him, all while he let out cries of pain and sadness as tears rolled down his bruising cheeks and partial fat lip. After about 3 minutes of this, a shinobi spoke up and said for them to back up. The villagers complied, but not without one of them doing one last thing. Hearing a cry of excruciating pain from a knife shoved into Naruto's right palm, trapping him to the dirt floor of the alley, said villager smiled and walked back to the mob. The shinobi moved forward toward Naruto. He was already badly beaten up. He had 2 black eyes, cuts on his body from all angles and sizes. He had a dislocated left arm and his right foot was twisted so far a bone popped out of it as he coughs up blood on the dirt. Mud and dirt covering up his bloody areas, getting them infected. He wasn't about to start having Kyuubi heal him to just have the villagers make him receive even more pain. The shinobi waited for some sort of invisible signal while listening to the boy cry and sob, tears running down his face onto the floor of the alley, coughing badly. One of the male shinobi, around 16, decided the wait was long enough, and lunged forward, kunai in hand, and stabbed Naruto's right arm. A loud blood-curdling cry could be heard throughout Konoha, sending shivers down everyone's spines. While Sarutobi was unaware due to one of the ninja putting a silencing seal in his office when they left so he couldn't hear outside the office. The shinobi who lunged forward was supposedly the signal for the others, and they started their onslaught. Cries and yells for them to stop echoed throughout the village, pleading for it to end. One shinobi was biding his time, waiting for his turn. When his turn came, he took the fish filleter and stalked toward the bloody mass that was Naruto. No, leave me alone, I didn't do anything. Isn't living this sort of life enough for you? Cried Naruto with many jagged weapons lodged into his frame, blood soaking the floor and his clothes. The shinobi just smirked. Well, this is for my family that you caused me to lose. So it's only understandable, said the man, now starting to peel flesh off of Naruto's sides, arms, and legs, all while Naruto cried and cried, groaning and yelling for it to all go away. After 5 minutes of filleting the young boy, the shinobi got up and smiled at his work, which was Naruto with his bloody flesh peeled away, looking like a potato that was peeled but the outer skin was never pulled away. Sort of looking like one of those car washing things with the large amounts of rubber strips connecting to a pole. Seeing his and the others' job was done, they turned to leave, when they stopped dead in their tracks. Standing in front of them was the second scariest thing they have ever seen. Standing in front of them was a big 6-foot-tall, 10-feet-long, animal? This animal was a 6-foot-tall, about 10-feet-long doggish animal. It was on all fours, growling menacingly, flashing its pointy 7-inch-long teeth. But that was not what scared them. What did was its appearance. The dog's fur was the color of blood mixed in with many black highlights. Its paws had 4 long dagger-like claws. The animal's tail was on fire at the tip along with its ears. The creature's eyes were a dark yellow that had a crimson slit pupil. Its paws also had fire blazing behind its arms and legs. Like a Ponyta from Pokemon? You guys know, right? And to top it off, the fucking thing had obsidian black velvety wings that were spread out at about 5 foot long, 3 feet wide each, adding to the menacing look. I have come for the boy, said the creature, scaring the civilians at that it could talk, not really scaring the shinobi, since they have seen talking animal summons, so it could sort of make sense that this thing could talk. But once they realized it came for the demon, they made a path for it to walk though. He's all yours, we're done with him for today, said the man that filleted Naruto with a smirk. The creature ignored the man and walked up to Naruto, checking over his status and condition with its gaze. It nuzzled its nose on Naruto's forehead, which made the bystanders watching wonder what it was doing. Once the creature's nose touched Naruto's forehead, all his wounds healed 4 times faster than with Kyuubi's was healing already. In less than a minute he was good as new, no bruises, broken bones, concussions, scars, or sprained ankles and wrists. The next thing after Naruto healed was a tattoo of a black hazy blotch appeared on his back, only showing dark yellow menacing eyes with slit black pupils, and from the blotch it showed 9 obsidian black tails that poked out of the big blotch. The blotchy tattoo was around 7 inches in height, and 4 inches in width. It was located directly in the center of his back along his spine. After it showed up, it all of a sudden had a menacing smile that had 2 big fangs that looked like they dripped blood. Peace. This thing is not alive, it's just a tattoo. Kyuubi's influence in Naruto's soul made the menacing grin appear. You will know why later. No one could see it due to his back facing away from them all. The villagers did not like that whatever it was had healed the boy and started to move forward until the creature spoke again, halting them in their pursuit. This boy has been chosen for our summoning contract, back off now. Bellowed the demon dog, making everyone shiver. Even a now conscious Naruto shivered also, who didn't know what a summoning contract was. Naruto may be smart, but not yet, he's only 5 for Pete's sake. Kyuubi only talks to him like they're best friends, not about random shinobi stuff. I don't think so, I don't know what or who you are, and if you protect the demon then you will be annihilated, said a random shinobi. The demon dog did not take the well, and lopped off the man's head with its claws before anyone could say anything. The villagers and shinobi freaked, so they charged at it in the hopes to kill it with numbers. The demon dog just looked annoyed, well, as annoyed as it could look for being a demon-type dog, and killed them all in less than 5 seconds. To Naruto, watching this was pretty weird, but somehow even while watching the animal decimate the people, he felt safe. Remember Kyuubi? Naruto opened up the mind link. Hey, Kyuubi-chan, you there? Thought Naruto. Yes, Naruto-kun. How did it go? Asked Kyuubi in a sympathetic and sad voice. Oh, it went terrible at first. They beat me, then stabbed me, and finally the dispersed and the only guy left filleted my skin like a fish, thought Naruto. Kyuubi was crushed, and also furious. She hated not being there for him and could only try to heal him, also angry that the villagers could harm a little child. And then this doggish demon thing showed up and healed me. Right now he, or she, is ripping through them like, ew, it ate one man's arm, thought Naruto while hearing a cry of pain from said man until it was cut short with a gurgle due to a claw sticking through the man's throat and caught up blood, falling over dead. I wonder, thought Kyuubi as she slowly realized something. The animal had marked him with a seal for a type of ancient summoning contract. Interesting. What's interesting, Q-chan? Thought Naruto watching as the animal slowly took one of many dead people, and it lit ablaze? Then out of nowhere, all the bodies blew aflame and disappeared, nowhere to be found. Oh, well, that hellhound marked you with an ancient seal for a summoning contract, said Kyuubi to Naruto. Oh, what's that? Asked Naruto. Kyuubi just chuckled and said, well, you will be able to summon its kind to help you in battle, and if you have the hellhound contract you have been chosen by them. Very interesting indeed. Naruto smiled and said thanks for the help in him understanding this, and cut the link for now. Naruto, now paying attention to the real world, stumbled back. He hadn't noticed the supposed hellhound was less than 3 inches away from his face, and looking right into his eyes. Hello little one, you have been chosen by my kind, to bear our summoning contract. The reason you were chosen is simple really. The person in this plane of existence with the most pain, sorrow, sadness, and loneliness that is still sane and pure, may receive our contract. That person is you. We have been watching you for a long time, and today it was time you knew that you have been chosen for our summoning contract. Upon arrival, when we meet our new summoner, we must take them to Makai, hell, and teach them about us and in our ways to fight. We will teach you our normal shinobi stuff, demon jutsu, how to fight with my kind by your side, and lastly you will learn the Hell Sage arts. Where we are going you will not age because time there does not affect you. You will be taught there for until you master all that I have said, and will return back in a few days. In a way this is like the illusion Tsukuyomi, except that a year in Makai is only 6 hours here. Now come, hell awaits, said the large hellhound. A portal opening up behind it. The portal was pitch black, with fire around the edge, and from inside could be heard many yells of pain and cries and wails for it to end. Naruto hesitated, but Kyuubi reassuringly told him it was okay. So, he followed, and life changed for him, as he walked into the portal to hell, where time didn't matter, and people didn't age. Flashback end. And that's how I got it. I later found out her name is Bane, and I am now the first Hell Sage in over 9,000 years. Said Naruto to a perplexed Toad Sage, who had his jaw on the dirt, again. Jiraiya quickly recovered and had a look of awe still in his eyes. Damn, Gaki, how long did you train in that hellhole? Said Jiraiya, chuckling at his joke. Naruto frowned, but replied, well, in the time I spent there I spent over 12 years to master all the demon jutsu, shinobi skills, teamwork with hellhounds, and the Hell Sage arts, making me a Hell Sage. While there my chakra had grown over 50 times larger, which is gigantically massive, but other than training I grew close to Bane, me and her became good friends, and it turns out that all demons, hellhounds and other demons alike, have a human form, so I am now dating 2 women, Bane and someone else, finished Naruto with a blush on his face. Not all surprising, Jiraiya had his thumbs up in the good guy pose and said, damn, lucky ass shit, how the hell do you bag not 1 but 2 girls? I'm proud of you, Gaki. Naruto smiled a little, thanks, they're both hot as hell, and share a lot in common. He got a small trickle of blood run down his nose, and if you would excuse me, I have dinner tonight with Anko-chan, it's about 4 right now and I got to take a shower and get dressed before 7. So see you around, said Naruto, starting to walk back to the village. Jiraiya just guffawed. This boy was a chick magnet to get 2 girlfriends, and go out to dinner on a date. In his mind it was a date since Naruto didn't elaborate, he still would have thought it even if he did cheeky smiley face with the snake mistress of Konoha. He let out a perverted giggle thinking of the books he could write while watching this boy with his women. Too bad Naruto heard the giggle. Oh, and Ero-sensei, if you spy on me with the women I hang out with then you will be sent to hell, to deal with Bane, who wouldn't like you making ICHA books on her boyfriend. By the way, she is the daughter of the boss summons of the hellhounds, so her wrath can bring upon his Yane. Said Naruto nonchalantly, walking away from the now pale man. Time skip 5:56 p.m. Naruto just got dried off from having a shower and went to get his clothes from Sasuke's room. The bathroom was right outside his door, so you could see anyone walk out if his door was open wide enough. Naruto had just taken a shower after coming home and eating a small snack. He has a towel wrapped around his waist when he stops, frozen in the hallway to Sasuke's room. Why, you ask? Well, right now he is looking at a equally dressed Makoto, who was on her way to the shower in a towel, covering her upper and lower half, and had also stopped, drooling while looking at Naruto's well-toned abs, buff arms, and cute charmingly hot face. While Naruto was suppressing a nosebleed from seeing her nice glistening skin, and only a towel on for the mind to wander. Hey, Makoto-san, said Naruto, giving Makoto a slight wave. Makoto, now out of her daze, smiled. Hi, Naruto-kun, good time to take a shower, nay? Questioned Makoto, looking a little embarrassed. Yeah, sure is. Well, it's all yours, he said, then jumped into Sasuke's room really fast, where once Makoto was out of sight, he fell over from a massive nosebleed. He recovered and quickly got dressed. She on the other hand was a little disappointed. She was gonna ask if he would wash her back, and then, accidentally, slip and slam her cleavage into his face, and then if things went well from there, she would want to do some things. But alas, that would have to wait for another time. She walked into the shower, turned on the hot water, walked in, and because she was so horny at the moment she couldn't help but think of Naruto and start to pleasure herself at the thought of him. I can't wait until I don't have to use my fingers and can have him do this for me. Naruto, know that I will have you, because I love you, and I am gonna make this reality by the end of the week. She thought, and promptly went back to masturbating. Now back to Naruto, he had just finished getting dressed in his civilian clothing. He had on blue jeans that were worn down on the knees and near the ankles, giving the blue a very almost white-like hue. The pants were pretty baggy around the ankles, and had the normal front and back pockets. He had on a white t-shirt that had the Uzumaki symbol in the middle of the back, and a chibi kyuubi, giving the peace sign with its paw on the front. He was glad he got to be good friends with that clothes saleswoman, because no one would make a shirt like this for him. He also had on his Leaf Village headband wrapped around his right arm near his shoulder, and some normal white shoes. A chain also was attached to his right side of his pants in the loop where a belt goes that was attached permanently there, and went down to his pocket on his right side, and due to the long length it hung about 8 inches down his side, making him look normal and ready. Since attached to the chain was a kunai that could unattach at a moment's notice. His hair was now dry, and hanging down to his shoulder blades, right above his Uzumaki symbol, and spiked out all over the place, giving off a wild look, which was enhanced with his animalistic whiskers and slightly larger canines. All in all, he looked his normal, but hot to many females since the shirt would sometimes show off the shape of his chest, showing his abs. Naruto left the house with his Gamma-chan, his frog wallet cheeky smiley face in his pocket and a spring in his step. He had a large sum in his Gamma-chan which was over 40,000 yen. $4,000 in my book. Just take off a zero from the yen to get the amount in US dollars that I am referring to. Thanks. He had been getting a weekly amount of 5,000 yen for the past 5 years, and with Sasuke and Makoto feeding and housing him, he had over half of his parents' heritage in his own account, which was about 4,047,900 yen, a large amount for a 14-year-old child. He made sure to bring a lot of cash for dinner in case Anko ate a lot, or he ate a lot, or the final reason, they went somewhere else that cost money. He didn't want to look like a bum, so he would pay for all of it. While walking through the village to pick up Anko, people were giving him the same scowls of anger and scorn to him, and some a little miffed at the little chibi Kyuubi giving the peace sign on his shirt. Even with the women giving scowls, he could see some of them scowling but with a trickle of blood running down their noses. How they could look angry, but have perverted thoughts of him, was beyond his understanding. Naruto arrived at Anko's apartment complex that she had told him about earlier that day and found her door, room 99. How fitting. He knocked on the door a couple times, and was welcomed with a smile from Anko, still in her normal outfit. He didn't really care, it was her choice on what to wear. Who was he to stop her? She welcomed him in, he thanked her, and then walked inside. Inside the room was a pretty normal apartment. When you walked in, the living room was right in front of you, with a couch in front of a big TV to the left. On the right of the living room was a kitchen. The normal stove, microwave, and table with chairs next to the sink were the only things sticking out to him. In between the living room and kitchen was a hallway, which led to a bathroom on the left, which it seemed all the doors had plagues on them to explain what they lead to. The bathroom door said, "Crapper." On the opposite side of that was another bathroom, was a door with a plaque on it. The words were, "Relaxing shower." Down the hall to the end was another door. It was Anko's bedroom. The plaque on it made Naruto blush slightly. It said, "Love-making chamber." Naruto had been sitting on the couch while looking around at his new friend's home, and while he sat, Anko made some tea for both of them before they went off. "Here," said Anko, handing him a cup of tea. "Thanks, Anko-chan. So where would you like to go for dinner? Money is no problem, and I want you to be comfortable," said Naruto, giving her a smile. Anko just nodded with a smile, but on the inside was happy he cares. She thought it over and had 2 things she wanted to say. Hey Gaki, I thought of where I want to go, but I got another question," said Anko. "Oh, and what would that be?" he asked, looking a little confused. "Well, since we are gonna be friends now, I want you to meet one of my friends, and since money was no problem I thought one could come with us," she said, trailing off at the end, hoping he would let her friend join. Naruto thought it over, and he couldn't see a reason why not, so he agreed. "Alright, sounds good. You want to go get him? I'll meet you at where you want us to eat. By the way, where is the place you want to eat at anyway?" he asked. "Oh, well, it's that Dango shop down the street, near the vet hospital," she said. "Okay, we'll see you in a few then," he said, and then walked out the door to the Dango shop to get them a seat. Time skip. A while later, cheeky smiley face. Naruto arrived at the Dango shop a while ago and chose a table in the far right corner in the back for him, Anko, and her friend to sit at. He had been waiting for Anko and her friend for about 15 minutes, when he spotted her with another woman who looked down and depressed. He waved to them and Anko led the way to their table. "Hey Gaki, this is my friend, Kurenai. Kurenai, this is my new friend Naruto," said Anko, sitting down in the chair across from Naruto, Kurenai on her right. "Hello, Kurenai-san, nice to meet you," said Naruto, giving her a smile and stuck his hand out to shake hers. "Hello," she said, but in a low whisper that Naruto could barely hear it. They shook hands and ordered their food before talking. Naruto knew something was wrong with Anko's friend, and him being Naruto, couldn't help but try to help her somehow, so he tried to get her to talk about it. "Hey Kurenai-san, you feeling okay? You look pretty sad to me," he said. Kurenai just looked sadder now, and Anko didn't like this, so she pestered her about it until Kurenai broke from Anko's 37th question on why she was sad. "Gah, because of Asuma, okay," said Kurenai, yelling only loud enough that Anko and Naruto could hear. "Oh, well, what happened, Nai-chan? What did he do?" "If he did something really stupid, I'll castrate him," asked Anko, pulling out a kunai and licking it, which made Naruto pale at just the thought of that. And just listened while he took a dango stick they just got and gave one to Anko. They both ate while listening. Well, it all started around noon this morning," said Kurenai with a saddened look on her face, and a faraway gleam in her eyes. Flashback. Kurenai's house. Kurenai had woken up feeling good on this wonderful day. The sun was shining and she wanted to see her boyfriend Asuma. So she got dressed and showered. Right before she was gonna leave she got a phone call. "Hello?" said Kurenai. "Hey Kurenai, I am not fake cough feeling that again. Fake cough, well, I think I need fake cough to rest, so you don't have to come over today. I'll hopefully see you Tom fake cough Woro. I'll have to send in a quick substitute for my team's sensei today," said Asuma over the phone. "Oh, okay Asuma-kun," she said with a smile, hoping he would get better soon. "Bye series of fake coughs, click," he said, and then hung up. I wonder if I should surprise him and help him get better. Yeah, I'll go over around noon and surprise him. I hope he doesn't mind, thought Kurenai. She left to go train her team, and then later on to Asuma's after a couple D-rank missions. Time skip. 12:09 on her way to Asuma's house. Kurenai had walked all the way to Asuma's with her spare key he gave her in hand. She opened the door and walked inside. She figured that if he was sick that he would be in bed, so she walked through his house until she was in front of his door. She thought that maybe today she could take their relationship to the next level and give her virginity. She knew that they had gone out for 6 months, and she thought the time was right. How wrong she would soon be. Kurenai grabbed the doorknob and opened the door. "Hey Asuma-kun, I thought I would go," she stopped mid-sentence. Because right there, on the bed, was Asuma butt naked, and he was pounding a civilian girl under him. He was still inside her when he heard her voice. That's when he stopped, and turned his head around to see her. What he saw was Kurenai crying. He felt bad but he didn't want to lose her, so he thought of something quick. Kurenai, this isn't what it looks like IONL. He was cut off by Kurenai, now angry and still crying. "No, you chose a tramp over me. I thought you loved me but I guess I was wrong," she said. She turned around, dropping his key he gave her on the floor, and ran to the door to leave. Asuma wasn't too happy, but being the douche he is at the moment, he decided if Kurenai left him, he at least had the girl below him, so he kept on with their activities. So's about the Asuma bashing you Asuma fans, but it's necessary. She went home and cried her eyes out until a knock at the door woke her from her misery after about 5 hours of being sad and crying. It was Anko and she wanted to know if Kurenai would join her for dinner with a new friend. She agreed, wiped away the eye boogers that had manifested after she stopped crying around 2 hours ago and left with her friend. Flashback end. Don't cry, that man had no right to do that to you. Be happy that you found out before you gave him the only thing you should hold sacred, which is meant for the man that loves you as much as you love him," he said, giving her the most charming and sympathetic smile she had ever seen. She blushed and smiled back. "Thank you Naruto-san, you're very kind. I wish Asuma was like you, to where he understands me and actually cared," she replied. "Think nothing of it, you're a very beautiful woman Kurenai-san, along with Anko. You both may have drawbacks, but I can see a lot more positive stuff about you guys than there are of those," he said. Anko blushed and was happy on the inside, while Kurenai blushed also, but didn't know if she could let another man into her life, so soon, that is. They talked and chatted with one another. Kurenai was wide-eyed when Naruto said he was his team's sensei, and after a while it was around midnight when they decided it was time to part ways. Naruto said goodbye to them and left on his way home to go get some much-needed sleep.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.